Welcome to the 2026 Le Mans 24 Hours here at the Circuit de la Sarthe in France. We are all set to get going as the green light goes on, and we are underway for our first practice session of 2026. 24 hours around this famous circuit. I can't wait to see what we're going to have as we get set to get going. Just waiting for our information to come up on our timing screens. There you see the refreshed data. Hopefully our track map will come available soon, as everything now just getting resynchronized and ready to go. That was London. There is the Circuit de la Sarthe. And the sky partially cloudy, track temperature at 31.5 degrees. Out there at the moment, but we're all set for the first session. We're going to sync up the timing screens as well, so we can try and show 2 pages at once and get you in fully ready for the Le Mans 24 Hours. Let's head down to TNT Sports as we wait. We've got a little bit of a delay for this session as the previous road to Le Mans was delayed, but we're all set, ready to get going.
Our qualifying crucial sessions to set the grid. My name is Ben Cosenjuris. Chris Stevens alongside me. Chris, your second time in the commentary box for Le Mans. Many times been here previously. It's just such an exciting place to come racing.
It's unlike anything else, isn't it? There's just nothing that can match the atmosphere on race day at La Sarthe. 300,000 strong will be in the stands when the tricolor is waved to kick off the 94th running of the Le Mans 24 Hours. But we've got a lot of running to do up until that point. This first session, absolutely crucial. It's been a couple of days since the cars and the drivers have actually been on the racetrack. And there's only so much we can read into that test day with teams running various different programs. You hear it in Formula One all the time, don't you? Don't read too much into the practice times. Think about how much of the circuit is going to change, because this, of course, is a mix of permanent street course of the Bugatti circuit here at Le Mans, and then 50% public roads as well. So there's an awful lot to take into account.
Sounds as though we have a slightly different tarmac as well, resurfacing from the second chicane all the way down to Mulsanne, obviously mainly on the straight lines, so ironing out the bumps perhaps on the Mulsanne straight a little bit, making the ride a little bit more comfortable. But crucially, it does sound as though that second chicane, which has been resurfaced, has offered the drivers in testing a lot more grip.
A lot more grip, which means a lot more speed as well. We'll keep an eye on the various race and qualifying lap records for the various different classes, of which there are 3 in terms of the machinery, the hypercars, the LMP2s, Le Mans Prototype 2, and the LM GT3s. And then LMP2 also has the subcategory for the Pro-Am cars. That means they've got bronze drivers aboard. And we'll get into the various technicalities of all that during this free practice session, I am sure.
Air temperature just 18 degrees today. Usually when we come to Le Mans, we can be sweltering in, I think I've seen 38 degrees once during a Le Mans week. We are expecting those temperatures on race day, but we have colder temperatures for the start of the week. I think the cars, the drivers, the teams are going to enjoy those temperatures, but they're not necessarily going to represent what we're going to see over race weekend. Not a massive threat of rain. We got rid of the rain last night and this morning, didn't we? Because we had a decent shower over this morning. That will clean off all of that rubber that was laid down on test day. We are just waiting to get the race session underway. Should have got going, I think, by now. We're 5 minutes in. So, as I said, a slight delay from the previous session. Ferrari chat. Well, actually, to be fair, Chris, I think every session this morning's been red flagged.
Yeah, it's not unusual, is it? It's such a long circuit, and it's quite difficult to have a small accident, particularly in some of the faster parts of the racetrack. And there we can see the marshals on the scene down at the Goodyear chicane. A few of 2,000 plus volunteers that we have here this weekend. So we take a look at the back of the Peugeot garage in the meantime, and oh, sorry, not the Peugeot garage, of the 83 crew. Which is the reigning champions, the AF Corsa crew from last year. And interesting that Robert Kubica is sticking around for another year. There were some who were saying that once he won Le Mans, he was going to hang up his helmets and his gloves. But glad to see he's not done that. We do have cars now in the working lane, which means that they'll be getting ready to send them out pretty soon.
Yeah, cars going out in the fast lane, that's a good sign. There is actually no information from race control on our timing screens as to what's going on. Usually you'd have at least a session delayed notification on the timing screens, but we haven't. And if you are hearing music, that is also because we are not getting any ambient sound for the moment from our world feed. So that is being worked on, and we should be able to hear, which is very important, Chris, these beautiful cars, because there are lots of different noises. Le Mans, you know, it has slightly changed there over the last 20 years. When the advent of diesel came in, suddenly the sound of Le Mans completely changed. And then a few years later, they actually did put a decibel limit on the cars of 113 decibels. So there is a limit. That Aston Martin, though, regardless, still sounds absolutely awesome.
Doesn't it just? I feel like we need to stop speaking out of respect every time it's out there on the racetrack. And what a bizarre thing in this day and age to come to the racetrack with a 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12 engine when everyone else on the grid in the hypercar category is using hybrids and nothing more than 8 cylinders as well. The last time a fully petrol-powered car won Le Mans was 2005. So it would be a huge feat for Aston Martin to try and break that duct.
And they were fastest in the test day. They were not as fast as Toyota had been in the previous year, and I think most people who were here considered the test day to be better conditions than last year. It was sort of, well, it's a bit like this, kind of perfect conditions really, and the circuit got better and better as the rubber got laid down. But Aston Martin, as you say, a naturally aspirated, non-hybrid car based on a production road car, so that's a different set of regulations to the LMDH and the LMH cars that we've got on track. We'll explain a little bit more about that as we go through this 3-hour session. But for those that were planning on their road trips from the UK down to France, having Aston Martin at the top of the test day standings just added that little bit of extra excitement.
It certainly does, because it became a fan favourite straight out of the block.
Of course.
It not only does it sound great, but also looks stunning. Speaking of stunning, the Toyota this year has gone from being a bit of an ugly duckling to the moment in those teenage high school movies when they walk down the stairs in their new dress and they've taken their glasses off. It's a stunning looking machine now, various aerodynamic upgrades to that car. It almost feels like an entirely new car, to be honest, and they've even renamed it in that sense as well. And it was victorious straight out of the blocks. We saw winning in Imola, the first race of the season. So we know that not only is it a fantastic looking car, but it's also a very fast car as well now.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1 minute. Under 1 minute to start the session.
Okay, we're getting close.
To start the session. We do inform all drivers that due to an accident in one of the sessions before, there is a cut in the asphalt at MP13, which will be signaled with a slippery track flag for the first 2 laps of the session. Thank you.
Eduardo Freitas, the voice of Le Mans, the voice of the WEC, and there is Sarah Bovey getting herself ready to flag the cars off for this first session. We saw her signing the tricolor alongside Dr. Ulrich.
Under 30 seconds to open pit exit, under 30 seconds to open pit exit.
Dr. Ulrich, of course, the mastermind behind Audi Sports. Many wins here at the Circuit de la Sarre. Now
open in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit is open. FP1 has started. Thank you.
And the first practice session for the 2026 Le Mans 24 Hours is underway, and the cars venture out onto the circuit. We'll get our driver tracker operational soon, and you will be able to see as well all of the classes here. We have got all of the timing data available across all of the LMP2 GT3s and the hypercars, so you will be able to see everybody out there on the circuit at every which time. Timing towers just taking a second to switch back on, and then we are underway. Yeah, connection to live data was lost. The page will resume, so reconnect and then we'll get back underway. But cars are heading out there already down the Mulsanne Straight, and we have a 3-hour session ahead of us. Welcome to the Le Mans 24 Hours.
Sole supplier for LMP2 and LMGT3.
it hurts my gut, because I had a Dunlop bridge with my Skelectric set when I was a kid. You know, it was that iconic. And they have rebranded it, recolored it, but of course they're the Dunlop S's are no longer the Dunlop S's. They are now the Goodyear S's. We are going to have to get used to that as well, because clearly that's going to come out of our mouths at some point. And I know that Motul, for instance, have sponsored the last chicane for a while, and we really haven't called it the Motel chicane like we should have done, because it's always been the Ford chicane, and even though that was a commercial deal initially, it's sort of stuck. These two chicanes, by the way, have had various names over the years. They actually had proper names when they were first built, but then quite quickly they became the PlayStation 2 chicane, and I'm not entirely sure what they are this year, but they tend to have sponsorship names. One's a Michelin chicane?
The second one is the Michelin chicane. The first one is still called the Daytona chicane, which less commercial, that one.
Yeah, that's not a sponsorship deal as such, is it?
Yes, it's very much in line with the partnership between the ACO and the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, which shares a lot of the cars, the regulations in the top class designed so that you can compete in both of those championships with the same machine, same with the LMGT3 cars.
And there it is. It's not horrible. It is still a bridge.
It looks great.
And it does actually look really, really good. It obviously doesn't say Dunlop, but by the time the end of this session's over with, I think I'll have got over myself.
So it's interesting, this slippery surface flag that seems to be going to be a permanent display throughout the session that Eduardo Freitas was telling the drivers over the radio, which is on the exit of the first chicane on the Mulsanne Straight. He said that there was a cut in the asphalt, which is astonishing to hear.
On the exit of quite a slow corner.
So what on earth happened in that previous session to make that happen, I wonder?
Yeah, should point out that this is the first broadcast session as well. We have had track action on circuit all morning, but that doesn't get broadcast. So the camera crews all came in around lunchtime. That doesn't get broadcast. So the camera crews all came in around lunchtime today, got sent off to their posts. A reduced coverage on Wednesday as opposed to Thursday, that more and more camera positions get manned as they go through the week. So we do have less cameras, sometimes a little hole here and there, but ultimately we should be able to pick up. It's not like the old days where Porsche Curves never used to have any cameras during free practice sessions, and you just hear of a massive accident happening. I want to say it was Duval who, or maybe Mike Rockefeller crashed, had a massive accident with an Audi, but we never saw it on broadcast, and it was the early days of camera phones, and so I don't think there's any real evidence other than the CCTV footage of what happened down there, but these days you can't get away with that.
No, there's absolutely no hiding anymore. And most of the drivers dismay as well, because they'll get the cheeky track limits every now and again, wouldn't they? And well, now you absolutely cannot hide. So much so.
Oh yeah, track limits, Chris. Did you do your little bit of information from test day? Because
I did.
We were losing lots and lots of laps because of track limits, and we will still see the same thing in free practice. Obviously, in qualifying, when you lose, when you go off the circuit, then you lose that complete lap time during qualifying. But in practice sessions, people have to take drive-through penalties?
Yes, so owing to repeated track limits offences, despite being displayed the black and white flag, which is your last warning, and we are getting those messages coming through on our timing screen now, you will take a 5-minute stop-and-go penalty in this session. There are 2 cars, I believe, that will have to do so. The first is car number 3, so the DKR Engineering LMP2 car, thanks to John Ferrano, their bronze driver, car that he shares with Sebastian Alvarez and Renger van Zander. That is going to be a very easy car to spot with this Victor Rouleau designed livery, which is inspired by bioluminescent sea creatures. It's the orange and black and blue, and it's going to glow in the dark as well.
Amazing.
So when we get to FP2 later on tonight, we should hopefully see that in action. The second car that will take a 5-minute stop-and-go penalty in this session is the number 26 LMP2 from Vector Sports, and that is owing to Ryan Cullen's repeated track limits infringements. It's just not an ideal start to the day when that happens. Yes, this is a 3-hour session. Yes, they're going to have 9 hours of running in free practice sessions before they go for the 24 hours. But it's just not how you want to. It's getting off on the wrong foot.
And we will see many of those being delivered throughout this 3-hour session as well. It's definitely not just exclusive to, to the test day. Very, very important, though, particularly when it comes to the bronze drivers, that they do stick to the inside the limits, because the bronze drivers are responsible for qualifying 1, or what is called qualifying. Don't get confused and think qualifying and hyperpole are 2 different things, as they have been in previous years. We now have, instead of qualifying Q, and we now have hyperpole 1, which has been shortened to H1 and H2. Qualifying is effectively, if you think about it in Formula 1 terms, qualifying 1. Hyperpole 1 is qualifying 2, and hyperpole 2 is qualifying 3. Just a continuation. And the only stipulation we have here is qualifying, so that's what's happening today, must be taken by the bronze or silver driver, depending on what is your lowest rated driver in either LMP2 or in GT3, of course, open for the hypercar category.
Yes, no restrictions on the hypercar cars. In LMGT3 cars, must have a bronze driver, so it will be your bronze driver who does it. But in LMP2, we've got a mixture of sort of fully pro cars and pro-am cars. So the rule for LMP2 is your lowest graded driver must do the qualifying session. The idea is that if you've then made it into Hyperpole 2, the top 10 shootout in each of the 3 categories, you'll have used all 3 drivers to get there, because drivers can't repeat sessions.
They have 30 minutes to do it, the bronze drivers, but just imagine your bronze driver with that huge responsibility of doing qualifying number 1 today, so with less track running than you might do tomorrow, where you've got another night session and another 3-hour practice session before the hyperpole session comes about. If your bronze driver loses his laps because he's overstepped the mark, he's run wide or whatever, you're not going to get into hyperpole. You're not going to get into the second session because you won't progress through. We're only losing 3 hypercars, 4 LMP 2 cars and 9 GT3 cars today, but it is really crucial that during these sessions, these bronze drivers make sure they can get laps consistently within the white lines.
So you see a big lock up there for the number 50 going into the Goodyear chicane. Will have put quite a dent on that from right Michelin tyre. But just to continue on your point there about the bronze drivers, it's not just in qualifying that they play a significant role, because they have to do 6 hours of the race as well, a quarter of the race distance, and the bronze category. So to give anybody who's unfamiliar with the FIA categorization system, when you apply for your international FIA license, you are given a grading of either bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. Now, platinums are your Formula 1 world champions.
Your professional drivers.
Super duper successful pro drivers. Gold is also very professional drivers, maybe not hit quite the same heights in terms of championships and blue ribbon event wins, for example. And then you've got your silver drivers, who tend to be your young up-and-comers, people coming out of the junior single-seater categories, depending on when they've started racing as well, because if you apply for it under 30, you're basically an automatic silver as well. But your bronze drivers, those are the guys who are in the office 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then spend their weekends doing racing. These are the guys who are not being paid to rock up at the racetrack and drive around in circles all the time.
They tend to be the ones doing the paying.
Exactly, they're the ones funding it, and that's why it's so important to have them, because without them, most of this racing would not even exist. So it's often referred to as an amateur event, and amateur is often the word we use about it. But let me tell you, if you got into a go-kart and tried to go up against one of them, you would lose 100%. They would smoke most people in your average club racing event as well, because they are performing at an extremely high level. And so to keep the importance on them, because they tend to be the slowest driver as well, because they are non-professionals, we keep the importance on them by having these mandatory rules, like they must do qualifying and minimum drive times in the race.
And interestingly, in a change over the last couple of years, there used to be times where you come to Le Mans and you'd have an entry in GTE AM, which was the predecessor to the GT3 category that we have now, where you get 350-year-old men from France who had saved up their pocket money, let's say, but decent pocket money you'd need.
Investment money.
Investment money. They come in, they rented a car, they come racing, they don't have a great amount of experience. They're a bronze lineup. They might, if they're really feeling a bit flush, they might hire in a pro driver to join the two of them. And this will be the one thing they do all year. And you definitely get, I'd say, 4 or 5 of those. Even when we talked 20 years ago when Audi were doing their thing, for a good 10, 15 years, there was that interest of, oh, there's not quite the local farmer, but, the person who's built the McDonald's, for instance, halfway down this straight, he's racing here. Now, because most of the entry comes from the World Endurance Championship and there's rules around those, there are very, very few bronze drivers like they used to be, where they didn't have any experience. Yes, they might not have experience of Le Mans, and as we heard from Tom Christensen and Jethro, over 40 rookies this year, but a lot of those rookies are 19, 20 years old. They're not people doing their one-off dream thing age 55. I don't actually know who the oldest driver is in the field. Do you have that stat?
I don't have it to hand, but I could dish it out.
It'll come to me by the end of the week, but because we used to get a big document about all of that, and I haven't seen it lately. But up to 70 years old we've seen in the past, and now it's definitely more like 60s. Or we have a car off.
We've got car 37 stopped there.
Car 37 off.
That's the CLX car, speaking of young drivers.
So this brings out the local yellow flags. That's down at the chicane area of the track. And that is in LMP, that's a 6th overall in LMP2. With Jensen at the wheel, it's the CLX motorsport car that has gone off. Should need just a local yellow, will be able to bring it under maybe a slow zone, push the car out, and we should get going again. We are going to be preparing for a slow zone at Marshall Point 2. So we are going to go slow zone.
Slow zone 2 at 14:24:30 in 45 seconds.
Rather silly name for a corner that doesn't have trees anywhere near it.
Slow zone 2 will be deployed in 30 seconds.
Typical, they go to ad break and we forgot that we're going to do that. But shall we check in with Radio Le Mans as we get all set for this weekend of the action? As I know they are out and about right now, listening in, and hopefully we're going to be in for a very interesting day as we get underway for the first practice session. As right now we have gone under full course yellow. Let's check in with him.
but it just because you can visually see the difference, it makes it you think it's a greater change than what it actually is. As Chris just said, they've definitely enhanced the car a great deal, and it is. They always looked a bit old before. Even the pre-hypercar, the LMP1 car, just never quite looked like an up-to-date racer. But now it feels as though it fits into this hypercar ideology of like, wow, it's a mega car. And it looks good with the livery as well, doesn't it? The whole combination of the car and the livery just looks so much quicker. I know that doesn't count for anything, but the drivers have mentioned that it genuinely does feel like a different looking beast, and that all helps. We've gone full course yellow. I didn't hear race control mention that we were going full course yellow. We did get the notification that they've cleared the incident at, what was it, turn number 5 or 6, wasn't it? But not quite sure why we've gone full course yellow. They do sometimes literally go through the processes. So whilst the teams are practicing, they throw these situations at the teams, race control, to allow the teams to understand their processes, and it also allows the drivers in the cars to understand what they need to do.
Well, we have also had a message. We've got double yellows at Marshall Post 23, which is on the run out of Mulsanne Corner towards Indianapolis.
Oh yeah, 3 and 34 as well.
34, that's much farther around the lap. That is on the run out of the Porsche curves, out of Corvette, and into the Ford chicane. But the full course yellow is going to be ending in about 30 seconds time. So, unusual situation here in these
20 seconds
stages.
to full course yellow.
Yeah, so good news there. So, Stephen, we'll go back to you and just run through some of the stories that are taking place. We've got Toyota with upgrades, Alpine and BMW with upgrades. Maybe BMW, people think that, they've got to be the favourites. They're leading the championship at the moment. They won at Spa. Is that going to be the case?
I think that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. I mean, the fact that they are leading the championship is a bit of a surprise, considering prior to Spa, they hadn't won a race in the WEC with the car, and now they took a 1-2 finish on the WRT team's home turf. So that was a great result for them at Spa, and it's catapulted them to the head of the standings. But they don't think they're necessarily in that fight for pole here. But you've got to say they have taken a step forward with their Evo car for this year, and they're definitely going to be ones to watch. But they're far from the only ones. The ones that seem to have a little, perhaps a slight edge at the moment, or ones that are certainly going to be to look out for, I think, are Cadillac. They showed some really encouraging pace in the test day. They were on pole. They actually took a 1-2 here last year with the two Jota run cars, and I think they've really put a lot of effort and attention on this race. This is what they want to try and win, and I think they've got to be in with a shout this year, one to watch.
You were at Silverstone when they were testing there, weren't you?
Yes.
What kind of deductions were you able to make from seeing the car out on track?
Well, it was interesting because Silverstone is perhaps not the most obvious test venue to go to prior to Le Mans, and it was a very cold. It was a very cold, drizzly day, not the ideal conditions that you want to prepare for what is traditionally quite a hot race this year. But actually, it's interesting that so far this week, the conditions here in Le Mans have been cooler.
Very Silverstone-like.
So very Silverstone-like, and therefore it was perfect preparation. But as we head into the race, it's looking like a very, very different story. So a lot of the drivers and teams have been saying, yes, it's during these sessions, but a lot of that isn't necessarily going to be valid come the race, when it's going to be due to be so much hotter, and they just won't have experienced those tyres around this circuit in those conditions. So I think that's another element that just adds into what can make this a really intriguing race this year.
That's a subject that we haven't touched on yet in the broadcast, but very worth noting that black and round things called tyres are not as simplistic as they may look from the outside, and Michelin have brought a brand new brand new construction of tyre to WEC this year, which means this is the first time we have them here at Le Mans, which means the teams are not just learning one tyre, because you, in the hypercar category, have 3 different compounds of tyre. They need to learn all 3 different compounds, work out what they need to do to make those compounds work with their car, and in the different conditions. And as you say, test day was similar to now.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're not going to have any idea. When we get to 30 degrees on Sunday morning, and by the way, it looks like it literally is going to get hotter and hotter and hotter until the end of the race finish. So we're going to start at maybe 23 degrees on Saturday afternoon, but could be 32 degrees by end of the race. 10 degrees difference is a big difference, and maybe you're switching from a medium to a soft to hard. And if you don't have any experience, you're going into an unknown. And it does feel as though understanding those Michelin tyres is a big factor in who's going to do well and not here this year in hypercar. I
think it's going to be a real key component of this race, of the hyperpole and of the whole race as well, because it's just such a significant part. If you can make the tyres last longer, that opens up more strategy options, and it's just going to be really intriguing to see who's got on top of that and who hasn't. And actually, one of the drivers was saying to me earlier that the first chunk of the race will actually be more almost like a test session in a way, where they are still trying to find out exactly where the tyres stand, what the grip is like, what is possible on the various compounds.
And
it makes more sense, that, to be fair, considering we know how this circuit's going to be developing. So we've now got our battle screens and race control systems all up to date for you out here on the call. So I hope you're going to enjoy as we are underway for the 2026 Le Mans 24-hour race. And it's going to be all systems go. Can't wait to see what we're going to explore with this year. Antonio Frocco fastest at the moment in hypercar, and we've also got the 2 pages. This is the battle screen where we'll spend most of our time, but do not worry, we're just in the process. It's not ready just yet, but I'll show you it, because it still says the 6 hours of Spa, and we're setting up, but we have a full timing tower ahead of us for everything to keep an eye on as well. So it will all get ready. It's going to look great, but yeah, second race of the season as Louis Delatraz moves up to 12th place in hypercar, and Origi, I think, has lap time lead. Took a little time to get through there. Faster lap times, though, are starting to come through.
Hypercar, and you know, it's basically Hyundai. Let's be frank. You probably don't know Genius as a brand in the UK. It's only starting to sort of come on song in Europe, but it's the luxury brand of Hyundai. We all know Hyundai. And actually, a lot of the people behind that are people who've come from the WRC project that has been running now for 15 odd years. And it feels as though it's when Cyril Abitbol appeared in the Monte Carlo rally for the first time, having managed Renault Formula 1 team, he looked insanely out of place. And whilst he'll probably tell you in public that he really enjoys rallying, I think it's quite telling that he's managed to create this project, which is much more up his street, and you can see in the body language of him in the paddock, he's really enjoying himself.
Absolutely. It's a really exciting project. The group of people that they've assembled to put the car together, both on the driving side of it and in the team management sides of it. You've got Gabriele Tarquini, tin top legend, perhaps not renowned as being an endurance racer, but he's sort of learning as well. But he's another person that's come through that Hyundai background. So it's been really interesting to see the Genesis out on track. It's a new car, and it's been...
So it's just a damping chain that was from the dyno data we've got here. So it's a change all round. It's slightly more rebound in the rear, slightly more compression in the front.
They're showing a lot of secrets on team radio these days, aren't they? Well, it's really insightful ones.
Dyno data, that means they've been running a simulation not just on the simulator as you and I would think, but actually running the car on a dyno to simulate the damping of the circuit, running the car around the circuit, and that dyno's come up with a different solution since test day. That's Corvette, that's TF. We've got Tom Ferrier coming in a bit later, so we can find out what little secrets he's been up to. Sorry, carry on about Genesis.
Yeah, no, it's just really exciting to see them out on track. They've had an encouraging start to their World Endurance Championship campaign. They scored points last time out at Spa, which was perhaps an unexpected result, and it was aided by the fact there were a few incidents and problems later on in the race.
Feels like Spa in general was a kind of unexpected result, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah, that could apply to multiple people, couldn't it? Yeah, definitely. But obviously Le Mans is a big test for Genesis. They missed out on the running from the Qatar season opener, which would have been a 10-hour race, a big chunk of track time that would have been a really useful proving ground for them. So they're on the back foot a little bit here heading to Le Mans because of that. They had an endurance test at Paul Ricard last month,
where they're based, so they didn't have to go very far.
Yeah. And that there was a few little hiccups along the way there. They weren't able to run for the full 24 hours, but it was still generally they unlocked a few more sort of secrets and developments from the car, so it's useful for, as we can actually see the Genesis coming in now, and it's got a special livery for this race.
That could apply to many as well. So it's been pulled into the Le Mans 24-hour scrutineering bay for spot checks, effectively. They've already scrutineered their cars up in town, next to our house, actually, Chris, over the Friday and Saturday of last week.
For this week only.
For this week only, yeah.
It's not a regular arrangement.
but they'll still get spot checks throughout all the sessions to make sure the data that they have there is the same as the data we have here. It looks like just a weighbridge track, actually, this particular one. Andre Lotterer at the wheel. The other thing I love about that car is obviously the Orica chassis that Alpine have is based around that. The engine is 2 WRC engines bolted together. I love the idea that is really simple. Obviously, clearly not that simple, but a 3.2 litre, because WRC runs to 1.6 litre turbo regulations. So guess what? It's got a bi-turbo, and that's just really cool. And the rally engine sounds amazing, and it's quite interesting that this engine doesn't sound that much different.
No, definitely not. It's got that similarity there, and that's just, the engine is another great example of the adaptability of the project. They had a really tight turnaround to bring this car all together.
500 days?
Yeah,
I think it's 500 days.
And it's super impressive when you think that it's able to be not all that far off the back of the front-running hypercar pace, really. So it's been great to watch, and they're only going to improve from here. They've got some very experienced people working on that car, and in the driver lineup as well. So it'll be really interesting to see, perhaps next year, what's possible.
Watching the Genesis on circuit, that's the 19 machine that is Poulichata, Danny Ukdela and Mathis Jaminet aboard that car. The 17 car here is Andre Lotterer, Pipo Durrani and Mathieu Jalbert. Go online and have a look at their release video of Baby, the young driver, Matthias, who is the only silver driver in the hypercar field. Is that correct?
I think I've
yes, yeah, that's right.
got that written down somewhere as well.
So otherwise, every other driver in the hypercar field is a pro or a platinum or a gold. But I think we're going to go down to Jethro, who is down in the pit lane. No, we're not. We're going to stay with it because we've got George Kurtz.
It is the CrowdStrike car.
It is George Kurtz at the wheel, I'm afraid,
Yes.
as well. So the boss of CrowdStrike. Plenty of racing experience, plenty of backing at a very high level. Part of his partnership with the Mercedes-AMG Formula 1 team is that he gets to drive the current Formula 1 car with Lewis Hamilton when Lewis was part of that team at his convenience, which is pretty cool. Little Brucey bonus for the sponsorship deal, but he's also a major partner of the Spa 24 Hours and has a partnership here as well. Or does he just drive the car around here?
I don't think not in ACO.
No, ACO.
Title sponsor of the Spa 24 Hours over there. But George seems to have gone off there in almost exactly the same place that Theodor Jensen back into the representative as well. So something at that point in the circuit where the P2 cars are struggling a little bit. Stephen, I really quickly just
feels
wanted
like
to...
lower track grip level, low speed. That'll probably just keep getting better, but definitely the balance has shifted a bit.
It rained. It rained all of last night and this morning, so the track is back to green.
explains that.
Yeah. Sorry, got your answer, Jordan. Next one.
Well, we can tick that off the list.
What, low grip?
Shortly. Low grip. It's
the bingo
number one
card.
driver complaint.
Yeah, exactly. Bingo card, low grip after rain. Yeah, pretty normal.
This program.
Yeah, pretty normal at the moment then with Jordan Taylor at the top. Let's take a look quickly then down at the GT3 field, the 78 Lexus leading the way there. Of course, LMP2 coming in this weekend, but they are not part of the main World Endurance Championship. They have very much a guest event coming into today. But so far, so good then here for the first session. We don't often get coverage of first practice, do we? Quite often we're left with the music in the background. But Jack Hawksworth's fastest, look at that, 3:55.737 is the time. Nicky Katzberg, Jose Maria Lopez, Charlie Eastwood, Daniel Swear. Look at Augusto Fairfuss, top now in the BMW, 3:55.837. So why is that time now gone ahead there on the board, go up into position? Takes a little bit of time to see what's going to happen there, I suppose, as we come out of the back stretch and down in towards the braking zones. It is so far so good at the moment here in the first session of the weekend for the Le Mans 24. And hopefully as well, we're just going to have some more things coming up because we're trying to work out where our TV monitors are up here in the booth. And see which, because we're just setting everything up at the same time, so just trying to see which is the correct one. Oh, it's not that one then. It's going to be a difficult thing to try and work out. How's everybody doing, by the way? You're doing well? Enjoying the weekend? Coming up, it's only Wednesday, but this is the big start of the one. I'm looking forward to it. Car's getting out of the pit lane there, which is good news.
Car and getting more up to speed, and test day proved that they're definitely within the shot. They're not being left behind, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we've spoken about Spa a few times, but Spa represented...
CrowdStrike. There you go. I thought they were a sponsor. Sorry, Karen.
But Spa represented Aston's best result in the WEC so far. They finished fourth, just outside the podium. They were in touching distance of that maiden podium, but you could clearly see that the step forward that they've taken, and it'll be interesting to see if they can replicate that kind of performance here at Le Mans this year.
There's the Peugeot, which when it first came to Le Mans a few years ago without a rear wing, the big upgrade has seemingly helped a little bit. I mean, to get a French car on the front of the grid would be absolutely massive. About to say we nearly had Bourdais on the pole. He was in the second car last year. He missed out, didn't he? Yeah, we nearly had Sébastien Bourdais on the pole, which would have been just as good because obviously Seb from Le Mans itself, so not just French, but actually from this town. One always have one or two, but don't know if Seb's the only one this year.
He would have become the oldest pole sitter in Le Mans history as well, which he can still do on Thursday.
It's still here.
Ends up in the car.
Of this first free practice session here at Le Mans, everybody up to speed, bar one car actually. Most cars have done about 6-7 laps, except for the DKR Engineering LMP2 Pro-Am car. That is car number 3 that was given a 5-minute penalty from testing, but hasn't appeared since. René van der Zande took the car out on circuit. Ferrano and Alvarez are teammates in that car, but I would suggest it's probably the only car that is maybe got a mechanical issue versus the George Kurtz car that was in the gravel and the CLX back on track, both back to the pits, clear out the gravel and get going again. So that's the only real sort of question mark as to whether there's an issue with that car. It's Stephen Licorice in the box and Chris Stevens with me, Ben Christian.
So, Stephen, another story coming into this week. Obviously, this is going to be Alpine's final Le Mans for the time being, anyway. And well, I don't know about you, but I haven't really seen any kind of explanation as to why they're doing that.
yeah, it came as a bit of a little bit of a surprise when the announcement came just before the start of the season that this would be.
I don't like the car. The car is not good on the ride. I'm really afraid in Indianapolis. Want to make too much there. Very high speed in the Force curve is better. The Force curve is the best balance that I've had of the week. Everything else is a lot worse.
It's a blunt message from Stoffel van Dorn there, isn't it?
I'm presuming what's going on here is, Stephen, they've picked up all the data from test day. They've had 2 days to analyse it. They've analysed it and gone, right, what are we going to do differently at the start of free practice 1? Because there's no point going out with the same car as you had at test day. And so big wholesale changes. Is it better? Is it worse? And we're getting the feedback live on screen.
We're getting a resounding response to that, and that's not the message that an engineer would be wanting to hear from the driver, was it? After all that hard work analysing everything from test day, but there's still plenty of time for more changes to be made, and the Peugeot to feel more comfortable for the drivers. And it's interesting saying about Peugeot, they were took us another sparse surprise was the fact that Peugeot took its first World Endurance Championship pole since returning to the series. This year this event, they don't feel that that's going to be possible to repeat that. They haven't shown that kind of pace, and they just think getting into the sort of final hyperpole session is realistically the most that they can achieve. But it'll be interesting to see, nevertheless. Martin Jakobsen is a bit of a star in qualifying, so it'll be interesting to see what he can achieve in that car, provided some of the problems that we've heard so far today can be ironed out a little bit.
Ooh, a big lurid spin, but with the 7.7 branded number 9 machine. That's Proton Competition running that car for Jonas Reed. Harry King aboard that car as well, who's very well known as a Porsche celebrity, and Uta brings the backing from 7.7 Racing over in Japan. He was very lucky to get away with that one.
Just about, didn't he? They couldn't get much closer to the barrier than that. And interesting you made a comment about Porsche drivers in LMP2. That's going to be one of the real storylines to watch in LMP2 this year, is because Porsche has withdrawn from the top class of the World Endurance Championship for this year. There's a lot of Porsche factory drivers, contracted drivers that haven't got a race seat in a Porsche this year. So they've looked around elsewhere, because there's actually only 2 Porsches on the grid, which is the fewest since 1951.
Oh,
incredible!
Great stat. Well done.
So there's obviously a shortage of drives for the Porsche mates, but some of them have found them place in LMP2 instead.
Racing with team manager Anouk Abadi. The race start is within touching distance. There's still a long way to go. How's the feeling within the team?
Let's say the feeling is a lot of excitement. We are really happy to be here, and we are looking for other race. But so far we are focused on our FP1 to make it smooth and run smooth. So with 3 hours FP1, so it will be a long one. And then we just hope to be, to be ready for the race.
At this stage, the track is evolving very, very quickly. So what is the plan for free practice 1? What do you try and roll your way through to discover about the track and the car?
I think it will be more to adapt and see what's going on, because the first time for us on this track, so we are trying to understand how the car reacts and then to adapt and adapt the plan accordingly.
You have very varied driver experience in terms of Andre, obviously. How is that molding together? The young guys, the older guys, there's a really nice mix of experience and youth, but what's the dynamic like between those guys?
I think it's like when you have a company and you have experienced people and new generation coming, it's helping to balance and to create this involvement and this team spirit that you can have, because they are helping each other. The young are teaching the old and the old teaching the young, so it's a really complementary and balanced environment.
obviously a massive amount of pressure this weekend, but do you get the chance as team manager to ever sit back, look at what you've achieved so far and where you are and try and enjoy this experience as well, or does that come later?
It will come later, I think.
Okay, thank you. Enjoy the weekend.
Team managers have got so much to do at the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
We try nothing. It's not going to fix itself.
That's a bit of a strange message about the Porsche as the LMP2 number 9 machine. That picked up something on its spin. Or I wonder whether there was actually a slow puncture, because the way that the car sort of pitched itself into a spin felt as though that rear left corner was down. Maybe it isn't down, maybe it's a suspension. Definitely an issue on the rear left corner of the number 9, I would suggest, for Proton competition. We've just seen there the Porsche that they would have usually run a few years ago in the garage. They're now obviously supporting Ford in GT3, but that's either suspension or tyre that's gone down there on the rear left corner.
Right, it's certainly smoking. It does look like a puncture, doesn't it? Because it's certainly low on that left rear corner.
So, let's have a look. I mean, there's obviously ridden the rear. Yeah, he's ridden that right curb a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the tyre was right before that spin, does it?
No, I think that's a suspension failure, possibly from monitoring the curves, and just the way that the car was in the air. That piece of little bit of red is actually just a bit of vinyl, isn't it, from the CrowdStrike brand offline? So not a big deal.
And we were saying earlier about one of the intriguing things about LMP2 is the number of Porsche affiliated drivers in there. So you've got 3 of their IMSA GTP Porsche 963 drivers in various cars. You've got Kevin Estra, Lauren Heinrich and Julian Anlauer, and just seeing how those 3 will fare in this race will be really interesting. A little having their own battle to see who emerges as the top dog amongst them.
So they're going to put a slow zone around this little bit of debris to allow the marshals to get out on circuit. Actually, they're going full course yellow, which seems probably more procedural than anything else. Not necessary to go full course yellow. Replay of the Toyota number 8 here. Oh, squeezing through a gap that was closing.
You can find yourself having quite a big shunt very quickly, can't you? Because if you're going around people at a certain point on the racetrack where you can lose space very easily, and the marshals retrieving that bit of debris, one of 2,000 that we have here this weekend. But we thank Stephen Licorice for joining us in the box. It's great to have you in, sir.
No, thank you very much for inviting me along.
Stephen Licorice of Sportscar 365 joining us in the box. We're very grateful.
Full course yellow at 14:59 in 30 seconds.
So, didn't need a full course yellow for very long to get rid of a bit of vinyl off the racing line, but it will be done now as we get a few more beauty shots of various cars. So there's the green Lexus GT3.
15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow.
This program.
Full course yellow coming to a close then, and we will be back up and running, hopefully with a smoother race strategy call, as the yellow flag has been out for a while now.
The bouncing, I would go back. It bounces in 20 a lot, in 21 for...
This is Buemi.
A lot of...
Copy, then we go back. Then we go back.
then we go back. There is that sort of confirmation that, you know, they're pushing the envelope at the start of free practice 1 from what they did in test day, and they will revert those settings, whatever those settings are, and it sounds like potentially damping settings, talking about bouncing through various corners, so that they can get themselves back to where they were in test day. Toyota and Ferrari were the only two manufacturers not to be faster in test day than they were last year. All other hypercar cars were able to find half a second, 2-3 tenths, but Toyota and Ferrari slower than they were last year. Ferrari with basically the same car, Toyota with a very updated car, but a car that they haven't yet perhaps learnt here at Circuit de la Salle.
Well, someone who can give us some really good insight into what it's like to drive around this La Salle circuit is David Fumanelli, who joins us in the commentary box. How are you doing?
Hello guys, thanks for having me. It's going great. We are here in Le Mans. I'm here racing in the Michelin Le Mans Cup Road to Le Mans race, and we just did our first free practice this morning, and now we have quite a long break because we get on track at 8 o'clock tonight for a semi-dark session, and now we are watching the big boys practicing for the big race.
Okay, Seb, so we'll refuel with you in the car and then you can hop out in the garage.
See drivers pushing the limits even on the way into the pit lane entry, and that was a slightly bizarre moment there. It was almost like he had a lock-up and lost steering for a moment, but we didn't see any smoke.
Yeah, it looked like he had a front lock-up, and that moved the car totally to the right. I mean, even the pit entry in Le Mans is not straightforward. You have these very tight chicanes, and the pit limit starts after that, so you have to push until that line, and we saw last year, for example, Pierre Guidi spinning over there, so it's still part of the track, and he made actually a crucial race moment.
You've just been out for your Road to Le Mans session, 3-hour race this year. I dread to think what the carbon fiber bill at the end of it is going to be like. We know what Road to Le Mans races are normally like when they're only 55 minutes, but how did the track feel? We've heard some of the drivers saying there's not as much grip out there as maybe they were anticipating. What was it like for you?
Yeah, exactly. I think because of the rain of yesterday and last night, the track was not very grippy. It was quite green for our session, but now the sun is out, so we're gonna see lap time improving.
David Fumanelli now in the comments box with Chris Stevens and Ben Constanduras, taking you through the second hour coming up of the first free practice session, and plenty of disgruntled drivers out on circuit, not happy with the direction in which they've had their cars set up in the 2 days between Sunday's test day and today's free practice session, because whilst cars have not been on track, there's been a mammoth amount of work going on back at base, analysing data from all the different cars, seeing where they can find those marginal gains, because what they do know is they came out of test day with a 1.7 second gap between 16 hypercars, 2 second gap between 23 GT3 cars, around a circuit that is triple the length of a normal racetrack, or at least double the length from somewhere like Spa. And that means those gaps are tiny, and so marginal gains are what's going to make or break your Le Mans 24 hours this year. And it looks like, David, also the weather is set fair. We're not necessarily going to have big downpours in the middle of the race. This feels like it's going to be a real sprint this year.
Yeah, exactly. We are at the moment now of the weekend where, you know, the big work has been already done by the team, and everyone is looking for the fine-tuning and small details. And the rain we had in the past 2 days was not ideal, because now we see everyone struggling a bit with the balance of the cars. And I mean, the weather forecast, it keeps changing. It seems now we're not going to have big chances of rain, but we see the weather here can change in a blink of an eye. So we have to see. We'll probably make things a bit spicy.
You're driving one of the cars that is effectively the same car as in this race, the Ferrari 296 GT3 Evo. How does it feel around a track like this? We know that the Ferrari's got maybe a bit more aerodynamic downforce than the vast majority of GT3 cars. So how does it compare, especially when you're sharing a track with a prototype machine?
Yeah, I have to say that the first feeling of the Evo car on this track in Le Mans was great. I think now for a very low downforce track like this one, the aerial balance is way better now with the Evo package, and also the shorter gear ratios for this track is much better. Because we found last year some corners a little bit down on RPM where we needed to go back on throttle, but I think the gear ratios now are perfectly done, especially for Sector 1. So yeah, I couldn't do many laps in FP1, but the feeling was great, and now we're gonna work a little bit more with the setup of the car to find a bit of performance, but we are in the window.
And you make a good point, because whilst we've talked a lot about the differences in the hypercar category and what's different from last year to this year, the new manufacturers that have come in.
All right, Ben. So, Nicky says the car's pretty good, pretty decent window. Low speed good, mid speed has more support, and the high speed is about the same before. So we'll go for a half an hour.
There you go. So a long stint to see what they can do on this set of tyres with full fuel and simulate a race run. The Ferrari 296, going back to my point, is a different car, or an upgraded car from last year, and there's actually not much to see on the outside, but a fair bit has gone and changed on the inside, and giving you drivers, particularly pro drivers, more things to play with.
Yeah, exactly. From the outside, it doesn't look like a completely new car, but they change a lot of things, especially functionality, and it was a big step forward. Also, in terms of setup, we had to change a lot the last year's setup to match the new Evo kit, and after the first test, now we are finding quite a lot of performance. There are a lot of good points now in the car that we can use compared to last year. You know, as usual, it's an Evo kit, so year by year the manufacturers discover how to extract more potential from the GT platform.
And you know the Kessel team well. You're racing for them this year. They've won 2 spots on the Le Mans grid for this year, owing to their successes in ACO and SRO competition as well. So you must be thrilled for the team, but also how well do you know the drivers that they've got here this weekend in the 24 hours?
Yeah, I mean, we really look forward for this weekend, all the Castle team, because we are here in full force. We have the 2 cars in Le Mans Cup, we also have the cars in Ferrari Challenge, and of course the 2 cars in the 24 hours of Le Mans. So all the team is here, and we have high expectation. The 2 lineup we have here in the race are very strong. Here we just saw in the images the car 74 that actually won the 2 entries from last year, winning the GT World Challenge and also the Asian Le Mans Series. So the lineup is great. They are all 3 rookies in Le Mans, but I'm sure that they're going to be very competitive. So let's see how it goes, but of course I'm cheering for them throughout the weekend.
So Dustin Blattner, who is driving the car right now, getting his bronze laps in, joined by Jenis Marshall and Lorenzo Patrese, the 3rd driver in that car, who, yes, is the son of Riccardo Patrese, sometime Formula 1 driver, and only a few years ago competed at the Spa 24 Hours. I don't think Lorenzo did do Spa 24 Hours last year. He had a bit of a bit year. He did do it. Okay. Yeah. He also is a professional equestrian. And spends a lot of his time, particularly in the early part of the year, on a different kind of horsepower, doing jumping and things like that. So we've seen him racing in Asia for Ferrari, and therefore, as part of the SRO link there, joining Kessel for this weekend.
Yeah, normally it's the bronze drivers we're talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But the silver in that car is very busy on non-race weekends as well. We're seeing a lot of the bronze drivers take the wheel at the moment. David, I assume that you won't end up doing too many laps, because it's all about the bronze driver in this session and getting them up to speed. Because they are going to be doing the majority of the work, and they need the ones to be able to get up to speed, because they don't do this professionally.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, the delta between bronze drivers is way bigger than the delta between pros. Between us, sometimes there can be a few tenths or maximum a second, but between the bronzes, we can see several seconds of difference, and so it's very crucial, especially for rookie arms joining Le Mans for the first year, to put in as much lap as possible to get up to speed. This track is very particular because you have to go minimum down first, and this makes the car very different to what I used to, and so that's why they prioritize track time for them, especially early in the weekend.
As you say, they're the ones who really can make the difference, can't they? Because you can have several seconds a lap between your best bronze and your worst bronze, whereas in theory, the guys like yourself should only be a few tenths between them on a normal racetrack. Maybe it's a bit bigger here.
Yeah, exactly. You said it right, and that's why at this point it's very important to do race stint simulation, because
the water pressure is rising, so keep it easy. The radiators might be blocked.
So that was Sean Galil going over the chicane, bouncing over the curves a little bit. That might just be a result of that.
Yeah, exactly. We saw a mistake from him, and then he has to complete the full lap before pitting, so the team advised him to check the engine temperature because he might have some grass, and in Le Mans you also have to preserve the car and see also the technical aspect of everything.
Let's go down to the pits where we've got Alessandro Pierguidi with Jeffro.
I'm on the pit wall with Alessandro Pierguidi, just stepped out of the number 51 Ferrari. Alessandro, first laps in the car, what are you experiencing out on the track? I assume a very green track at this stage.
Yeah, every time we start, it's always a bit green, the track. It's quite slippery compared to what we experience at the end of the test day. And now we start again to take the rhythm and try some few stuff for the race and for the quality of the late afternoon.
Okay, obviously, what do you do when the track's like this? Do you keep chasing the track and changing the setup? Or do you rely on your experience and simulation that you know where the track's going to be by the time qualifying and hyperpole comes along?
Let's say so and so. We cannot expect to have a similar grip as at the end of the test day after just 2 hours of driving, but also will be a bit better than now. So we need to chase a bit with the setup, but also let's say guess something that we will have in the qualifying.
How do you feel about the race? Do you think the pace is going to come to you guys? You've been so strong here the last few years.
Not sure about that. I think we struggle a bit in terms of pace, and also mainly is the speed that we lack a lot of speed, and we know in Le Mans when you lack speed it's not nice.
Okay, well, good luck with the rest of the weekend. Thank you.
Great to have Jethro Bovington with us in pit lane for this first session, sending us interviews from AF Corsa. I just can't accept, and I know you're a Ferrari man, Debbie, but I can't accept that Ferrari can win again. It just doesn't. It's not allowed. Not when we've got not when the whole formula of hypercar is balance of performance, and I hate to say that word, but they have kind of nearly dominated the last couple of years, and with everyone getting closer and closer, it seems as though it would be a lot of hard work to see a Ferrari on the top step again.
Yeah, exactly. I can see the competition is much tighter this year, but to be honest, I wouldn't count them out because
you can't.
In this race they are so good, they execute the race and the strategy always so perfectly that we have to see. Even last year, I think some other manufacturers, they had a shot, but at the end Ferrari just did a better job, and this year everyone seems to be a bit closer, and it's going to be a very interesting fight, so I'm really looking forward to watch the race.
Lots of beautiful clips of racing cars flying through the air through the final chicane. If you don't monster those curves, you are losing tens and tens of seconds, right? So a car compliant across that 100 meters is really important for the lap.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite funny because you arrive after the Porsche curves where you hold the breath for 20-30 seconds, and then you finally think, oh my god, the lap is almost finished. But then you have the last two chicanes, which from the outside they seem easy to do, but at the end they are very tricky because you have to find the right way to cut the curves, make as less road as possible, and if you cut it well, you can easily gain a few tenths in both. So on a performance aspect, they are crucial and can really make a difference, especially for qualifying.
What about when you're blasting down the Mulsanne? Do you have a think about the race? Does your mind start to wander a little bit, apart from just thinking about your braking zone?
Yeah, it's a strange feeling because usually we're not used to such a long break between one corner and the other. So sometimes, yeah, especially between chicane 1 and chicane 2, you really have a lot of time in the car. So sometimes it can happen your mind just go somewhere else and think about something else. But then when you approach the braking point, then the focus reset to where I have to brake, how hard, and how I have to modulate the brake. And every lap you try to, of course, beat your time and be faster.
And around sections of racetrack like this, I mean, there's so much going on here. You've got the banners and all the advertising on the side of the track. How are you picking a braking point out of all of that?
This is good, James. How is the balance with the lift and cost?
Yeah, it's good, mate. I'm struggling a bit with the front more than anything, but I prefer it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was saying Le Mans actually, with all the advertising and banners and so on, gives you a lot of reference points, so it's not that difficult to pick it up. The only place where it's a bit tricky, I have to say, is entry of Porsche, because there the track is quite wide, you don't really see the apex, and if you don't have experience, it's quite confusing in the beginning. Also, it's a very, very fast corner, so you need, confidence to really commit. But I have to say the rest of the lap is quite well marked by braking points.
So we can see the 83, which is currently being driven by Robert Kubica, last year's winner. And that's the pace difference there between one of these hypercars and the car that you're driving this weekend, the 296. And maybe, on TV we make them look slow, but they're not slow at all. To still do 13 kilometers in 4 minutes is pretty impressive.
Yeah, exactly. We are not slow at all, but of course when you see the hypercar passing by, they are really on another level, both on engine power but also on grip. Of course they are way lighter than GT3 cars, they have much more downforce, they are prototypes. So but when you're driving the GT, even drivers that they change from hypercar to GT and vice versa during the season, at the end of the day, every time you are in a race car, you just have to bring it to the limit of what you have in your hands, and it feels fast no matter what. It's just a little bit different driving style you have to adapt. But it's so nice to have this, endurance multi-class racing. It's part of the history of this race, and it's part of the task a driver has to do, managing the traffic and so on.
We're going to talk about traffic so much over the course of, well, in all these practice sessions and over the course of the 24 hours as well. As the driver in the GTs, you're not the one doing the lapping, you're the ones getting lapped. Is that easier for you potentially as you're letting some of the traffic go by?
Yeah, to be honest, especially in the Le Mans 24 with the speed difference between LM GT3s and hypercars, it's easier for the GT3s because they just have to stick to their racing line, and it's a job of the hypercars to approach the overtake. But the difference is so fast that we saw even earlier Robert Kubica slowing down a little bit more before the entry of the last chicane to then get a run and easily overtake the GT in front to start the next lap in a clear spot. It's a bit trickier in the Le Mans Cup with the LMP3s because the speed difference is less, so you have to manage a little bit more when and how let them by. So I have to say the critical task is more for the hypercars, that they have to really manage and be aggressive in the overtakes, but of course without taking too much risk, because the goal is to finish.
It's the 101 Cadillac which has the fastest time right now with 3 minutes 25.348. 48. This moment in time, there is big gaps between our hypercars. 5.8 seconds separating the 18-car hypercar field, and 0.6 of a second between Cadillac 1 and Cadillac 2 at the top of the times. But it's worth noting that, as they were last year, Cadillac looked strong and over one lap to potentially get a repeat of that pole position from last year. Worth noting that the WEC entries obviously run by Team Jota, the Hertz Team Jota machines that we're used to seeing, joined by a third Cadillac in hypercar, which is...
I got a lot of rear instability. Thing is on the nose like crazy.
Okay, so Bourdais, almost the opposite complaint to everybody else. Most people complaining about the front end, but Bourdais feeling as though his rear end is breaking grip. The Cadillac 101, by the way, gets into the Le Mans 24 Hours through an invitation through IMSA. Now, the winner of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship last year was Porsche. Porsche should, in theory, therefore, be allowed to take up their invitation, but because they don't have a car in the WEC Championship, therefore they were not allowed to take up the single entry of that IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car. If they had even a customer car in hypercar for the WEC series, then they would have been able to take it up, and Roger Penske could have brought his team over once again. But because they had nothing represented in WEC, that meant they still race, by the way, over in America. They just don't race in the World Championship. Then it was passed on to Wayne Taylor.
Yeah, so we will still see a lot of Porsche drivers in LMP2, Stephen, and we were talking about that earlier, but it does represent an opportunity for Wayne Taylor to have a second Le Mans for his team after making a debut last year. His first as a team owner, but he did 13 as a driver, including winning in LMP1 back in 1998, and for his two sons to be sharing the car again.
Yeah, not for the first time, but they've done a lot more racing here than racing together as brothers.
Yes, they generally in America they're in separate cars, because Wayne Taylor's running two cars over in IMSA, and I think it's the only additional car for
the hypercar field.
For the hypercar field, exactly. Yeah, the rest are all WEC regulars.
Because there's not much space. That's the problem.
We have 62 entries, tops, and when you throw in all the other invitational cars that we have out there, it becomes very cramped. We already had to add 2 garages onto the end of pit lane, didn't we, a few years ago?
So Wayne Taylor racing the WTR, the Cadillac Hertz Team Jota in second, and then it's the first of the Ferraris car 50. Aston Martin up there with the 09 in fourth.
Al Energies, multi-energy partner of the FI.
It's looking good for Aston Martin once more in their non-hybrid car. 1 hour 47 minutes remaining of the first free practice session, the only free practice session before we go into qualifying in a few hours' time. A brief yellow flag down at Marshall Point 20. That is Mulsanne corner, where somebody's clearly just run on a little bit. And we have David Fuminelli in the commentary box with us in Le Mans Cup for this weekend. It's good that you've got a 3-hour race, though, and we shouldn't talk too much about the Le Mans Cup, but previously the 1-hour races that you've had never had many racing laps, because it's always been such chaos. At least maybe you can get into a rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. Really looking forward to the 3-hour race, because I think we're gonna finally get multiple laps in the race. The Le Mans Cup is mainly an amateur series, so we've seen in the past many mistakes, and this prevented us to do like full race stints. So it's going to be interesting. Also strategy-wise, we can play a bit more. We don't have many limitation. We just have a minimum driving time to respect. Mandatory 3 pit stops, so a lot to play for, and really looking forward.
Copy, we come back to you.
So Rio Hirakawa also struggling a little bit with grip out there. I mean, David, that should change though, shouldn't it? I mean, we're talking about this is the first session of the week, and there's going to be so much track evolution. We've got 2 solid days of cars just continually pounding around, and even though the 24 hours is not going to be having an event on Friday, you certainly will, so there's still going to be a developing grip.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that from the outside maybe it's not clear to understand, but these cars are so sensitive to weather condition, track evolution, that even maybe you found a great car in the test day, just by changing a few degrees of track temperature or track condition, you go on track and the balance is completely different, completely all over the place, and you almost have to start from zero again. So you can never, relax in the Le Mans weekend, and you have to continually understand the evolvement of the track and also evolve the setup with that.
Rene's already falling asleep. That's not a good start.
Problem is, there's so much. You really have to get used to hanging around as a racing driver, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Especially here in Le Mans, these drivers are here since already a week. So between marketing and media activity,
your favorite
sessions. Yeah, so I mean sometimes it's actually probably less tiring when you have to drive a lot rather than do the waiting game in the garages or in the paddock. So that's why probably René Rast was a little bit sleepy.
It was a long time since René Rast was in karting, but karting you do one day, 3 or 4 races in one day. You never stop. A car comes in, change something, go back out. Then you get into single-seater racing on your first ladders, and you've got one 30-minute session one day, and then a race the next day. And suddenly you're, oh wow, this is a different rhythm of life. And then you've got a whole week's worth of action here at Le Mans. They would have been arriving Thursday last week, the drivers, because scrutineering on Friday if they didn't miss it, and then all the way through to next Sunday, Monday. It's a big week.
Yeah, exactly. That's also what is fascinating from Le Mans, is that it's not a normal race weekend, even in the schedule and even in the timetable. There is a lot of off-track activities to do, the parade, the paysage, the autograph sessions, and of course the atmosphere in the past years and the presence of fans has increased so much, and you really feel you are on the racetrack to be at this moment of the year, because everyone is here looking for this fantastic race, and you really feel the vibe in the air.
We just saw that shot of the S's there. There's a very dark line right in the middle of the road. Is that tarmac breaking up?
Yeah, I also saw that, because when I was on track 2 hours earlier, I didn't really see that.
Okay.
So it will be interesting to see if it's actually a deposit of rubber, like we can see on a karting track, or if it's actually some tarmac going off the road. That's something to investigate for sure.
It's where we saw both the LMP2 cars go off at that same sort of point, didn't we? So I wonder whether a bit like Monaco Grand Prix last weekend, we've got a little bit of a breakup of tarmac.
It's an astonishing shot of the Mercedes going through the Porsche curves there. I think leaning so much on the left rear tyre that it was causing it to smoke. Now that's definitely something that they're going to have to take a look at.
Mercedes, of course, one of the oldest in the GT3 homologation patterns.
I'm down here at the Bend Manthey Pit Garage, car 92, Richard Leeds. You've won LMGT3 the last 2 years. I guess you just feel like you're going to show up and win again?
Definitely not. I mean, it's Le Mans, so it's not your decision who is winning. Everybody wants to win it, and Le Mans is choosing the winner. We are preparing our car. We are hoping for a balance which suits all the drivers. The mechanics getting used to the car again and to the special Le Mans atmosphere and all these special rules. So we are, trying to warm up for the big one and be ready on Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, obviously this is a Pro-Am category. How much of a compromise do you need to make in terms of setup to suit the bronze driver, or do you feel like you can all get to a pretty comfortable place with a pointy, aggressive car?
At the end, we all look for the same things, and Yasa is really on it, and his feedback is really, really fitting to our feedback as well, and so therefore we have quite a bit of a challenge for the seat, that everybody is happy with the seat, but setup-wise, we all want the same. You want a fast understeering car in high speed and a really good front in low speed, and we agree on the setup changes. So at the moment, we work on the seat and some fine-tuning on the balance.
Okay, tell us about the traffic. We hear a lot about it from everyone's point of view, but what's it like when you're out there, you're coming up to the Porsche curves or something, and there's a gaggle of hypercars behind you? How do you deal with that?
At the end, nobody wants to lose time. You don't want to be in their way. You don't want to, you know, force a late break from them, because then both will go really slow through the corner, and you, at the end, have a bad section. So I try to manage a bit with the indicator, you know, to show them where I'm staying and want them to, you know, pass. Obviously, in the straight is the best, but some of them, they arrive late and they dive in and brake late, and then we both lose time. So you try to avoid this. But I understand they are racing their race, we are racing our race, and it has been, you know, working out the last years quite good. But obviously, in 24-hour racing with multiple cars, at one point somebody will not be happy, and the other one will be happy. So that's part of the game. It's for me, Le Mans is like this. We have to use the mirrors, we have to look to the front, and so have the other categories. That's part of racing.
Okay, yeah, fantastic to watch from our point of view. Thanks for talking to us, Richard.
Coming up to his 20th start, Richard Leeds here at Le Mans with, as we've already alluded to, many a victory in class. Never had the overall victory because he's always been in the GT3 category.
Yeah, certainly very much a stalwart now of Le Mans. It's been great having David Fibonelli in the box with us, but we do unfortunately have to let him go. So David will say thank you very much for coming in, and all the best for the rest of this week, and good luck on Friday.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for having me. It was great fun to see also, you know, the backside of the race, and yeah, let's see and let's try to have fun and bring home some trophy.
I don't know whether they just turned up the feed on us, but all of the Aston Martin is just that loud that suddenly you can get a chance to really hear the Aston Martin on circuit. It physically just looks so different to all the other hypercars because it's built to a different regulation set. The interesting thing about their regulation set is their one removable device that they have on that car, because all of these hypercars have a removable device that they are allowed to use. Theirs is like a front wing, but underneath the front of the car, so you can never see it. It's not like most of the cars where they're tweaking a rear wing and adding more rear downforce. They have this sort of underfloor and controlling the air under the car, and that's how they do their aerodynamic change. As we now watch the Peugeot around the circuit, great to welcome Tom Ferrier, boss of TF Sport. TF, there you go, albeit very obvious. And Tom, 10 years here at Le Mans. Big celebrations for you this weekend.
It is 10 years here. It's my first time with you in here, so yeah, it's like
too busy.
It's an extra present. Yeah, it's obviously a big weekend for us as a team and for me personally. So yeah, loving every minute of it, as we always do when we come here, and had some really nice surprises so far. So
and we go back beyond the 10 years.
We do, which is showing our age, but yes, a long time ago.
Yeah, the TF Sport, obviously now, I mean, can you even imagine the way that it's grown to the level that you are now, the sole representation of Cadillac here at the Le Mans 24 Hours?
Well, we're Corvette, not Cadillac.
Sorry,
but yeah,
get that right.
Upset Mr. Hignett saying that. No, it's been an amazing journey, and it's yeah, every year seems to take a step. So yeah, we are enjoying the journey. And
does it come with extra pressure? Do you feel that sort of American flag flying behind your head?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Le Mans is huge for them, for GM. Yeah. So yeah, we try and concentrate on what we're doing, but you know, you can't not notice the presence even when you walk through the paddock, and the hospitality unit is twice the size of London. So yeah, but we'll do our best to represent them well, and you know, we had a good year last year, having third place with one of the cars. So yeah, we'll try and do better.
Tank represented with 5 cars in GT3, which is the biggest representation.
This is your quali sim. You've got about half a tank of fuel as you would in qualifying. We're in for 3 push laps, 3 push, but really work the tyres on this outlap as you would normally in qualifying. They will be ready by the time we get back round to the start finish. All settings should be preset. You're on the Brembos now, so you get a good feel of the reference for the performance on the outlap as well.
Lots of secrets being shared, by the way, on Team Radio. I don't know, you probably don't have this in the
No, we don't, actually. No. But it's interesting, isn't
Worth plugging one of your interns into the world feed.
Yeah, having a look at what's going on, yeah.
They shared earlier some feedback from one of your drivers about the dyno results from, and I'm presuming, post-test day, you've been running a car on a dyno?
It's probably the dampers.
Yeah.
We had all the dampers off, and we thought we saw a problem on data with the rear dampers on a 33 car, so yeah.
So can you just explain what you've done on that dyno since the test day, and what it is you're looking for when you do that?
Yeah, you basically take it off, attach it to a machine which replicates the up and down motion of the damper effectively, and it plots a graph for you, and you can compare it to your original damper settings, and basically it's a health check really.
Is it running a simulation of the track? Is it literally going curve? This is what.
Not one. No, it is a up and down, but you can put it at different velocities and see.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a useful tool to have. My engineer will be very happy I'm saying that, because he forced me to buy them.
So yeah, going back, Ferrari 5 cars, but run by I think 3 different teams. Corvette 4 cars, all under your watch.
All under our watch. However, 13 Autosport won their entry through the IMSA Championship, so they are with us, and we're all together as part of the kind of the GM family. We're only a garage apart, but they are there with their own crew and car.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
But using your equipment.
Yeah, effectively. Yeah, we kind of built the back of the garage into it's like a city now as well. But so yeah, we're all together. And then between the teams, GM, Pratt Miller make the cars, all the engineering guys, we all work together, everything's shared data-wise, so try to have 4 bullets in a gun effectively, and get them firing as good as we can. So.
And you've got, of course, the JM Malaysian machine that I know well from my SRO days. JMR have, over the last few years, become an actual team rather than sort of a brand that was being run by the 888, I think, guys were actually from. Now it's properly JMR, but here at Le Mans it's back to TF.
It's a mixture.
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's a bit of a split strategy. Yeah. So yeah, like I say, a lot of the guys from there were from 888 originally and stuff. So yeah, there's helping with the staffing, and yeah, there's a lot of hotel rooms.
Yeah, right. Is there much energy from the Malaysian flags? Because obviously in GT World Challenge Asia, having a prince is kind of cool. But over here, are we feeling that as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's great he's here and representing the country, and yeah, there's definitely a bit of security around him, and so very nice man, and hopefully he's enjoying his first Le Mans.
If you aren't across the JMR machine, that is Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim. Brother also races for the last few years, and they did the Asian Le Mans series over the winter. Having finished, I think Prince Jeffrey finished 3rd in SRO's Asian Championship in a Corvette. They also run the Spa 24 Hours and things like that. But effectively, Prince Jeffrey's dad is the king of Malaysia, and they are the princes of Johor, which is a region of Malaysia. And every 5 7 years, the king is allocated to a different region of Malaysia. And at the moment, it's Johor's turn, which means Daddy's the king. They're the actual proper princes. Slightly awkwardly, it does mean they have to wait something like 45 years before the king comes round again.
Yeah.
So are we saying that there's someone out there now who's got a longer name than Freddie Habsburg?
If you want to go full on, yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, Chris. So fill a minute.
His Highness Tunku Abdul Rahman Al Hajj Ibn Sultan Ibrahim Tunku Palima of Johor. which I think is
Prince
pretty
Jeffrey
good
to
going.
us.
Prince Jeffrey.
Just Prince Jeffrey. Does he insist on Prince Jeffrey? Or is it just
I would assume
Jeffrey?
so. Yeah.
Slightly awkwardly though, his brother is also an Ibrahim, and sometimes on entry lists you just get Ibrahim, and it's impossible to tell
which
way around. You had a late change in that car. What was the reason behind that?
It was through the Princes and the JMR guys. I think they wanted to bring someone with a bit more experience to a Corvette and to Le Mans. So Lorcan obviously raced last year here and has done a bit in the Corvette. So yeah, just wanted to try and strengthen the lineup slightly.
Away from Corvette, you've got another car to run.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
And so how does that work within sort of the structure of TF? Because suddenly you've got a whole different philosophy with LMP2 versus the GT3 category.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great conveniences of it is it actually splits the 4 Corvettes in the pit lane, which is nice, so we actually don't all fall over ourselves so well. But yeah, obviously we've run the P2 for the last 5 years now, I think it is, and PJ has come on with the AO guys last year and this year. Had a great year last year with us and is back for more. So yeah, it's, you know, one team, one dream, as it were. We all know each other in the garage. It's all the ELMS crew, so everyone works together all the time. So it's nice.
Anybody left at home in Crawley?
My wife and children. They're coming on Thursday.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah.
Handy, right next to Gatwick Airport.
It is, yeah. Straight to Nantes and then drive across. It's very easy. So.
So they have found a flight from...
Yeah, that's the way I come now as well. So
the best.
What do you mean? You don't take the private airfield?
No, yeah, I'm not quite there yet. One day.
Not far away from... I used to drive from... Because we live very, very close to each other, and my route to Gatwick is past the TF... when I was in England, was past the TF... factory, as it were. Have you got a factory warehouse?
Yeah. Industrial unit, yeah.
Industrial unit.
Yeah, it's
ready for me.
And now I drive past Cool Racing every time I come to the airport.
You started running too early. The car was not positioned properly, so in the race this would have been for now it's not a problem. But just wait for
It's quite difficult to make that out, wasn't it, for Augusto Farfus there? But something not operating as it should, apparently, on 32, and paying quite a bit of attention to the front right corner. And this is the car.
Is that Sean in there, I think? Looked like his eyes. Definitely wasn't Darren Lung, and it wasn't Augusto.
Maybe it was.
I can't believe that Augusto Farfus's daughter is now racing. That makes me feel old. Oh, there's... Oh, nice! Tom's showing me his helmet.
I wanted to give him some airtime. So this is my old karting helmet, and as a 10th anniversary of Le Mans present, Mr. Eastwood has had it painted and has put his name inside. He's actually wearing it in the race for me. Yeah, so that was my it's very cool.
That is a great looking.
So it isn't me in the pit lane if anyone's scared.
Yeah.
Every football fan dreams of getting closer to the action. That's
Formula One drivers, I should say, that we have in the field. And Logan with his second start. We also have Jack Doohan as a rookie, as one of, did you say 41 rookies?
41 rookies here this week. I can do you even better than that, Ben, because there are 41 24-hour rookies here. I can tell you that of those 41, 27 have not done, well, to my estimation anyway, have not done any racing at the start. So haven't done Road to Le Mans, haven't done Ferrari Challenge here, haven't done Carrera Cup, or the Ligier series that they sometimes have here as well. I estimate 27 of them have never been around this track before, until Sunday.
Tom Ferrier with us, the TF in TF Sport, as we've got a McLaren coming back with what looks, rather than being a puncture or suspension, that's bodywork that's dislodged and rubbing on a wheel. And Antara Izawa in that car. I don't know if... Is he always in that car, Wek?
Yes,
he is.
He is a full time. I know what you mean. It's very bizarre not seeing him in a Porsche.
Thank you.
Yes, but I think it's his first year not in a Porsche.
Okay. Because he's actually got to the stage now where he's a valuable bronze driver, rather than just somebody with a car coming to go racing. You now actually kind of want him.
Minor contact with the LMP2 behind me. I think I'm coming to a bit of smoke. Tire contact.
Copy, box this lap, box this lap.
So this is what we were talking about earlier with David Fuminelli about the traffic management around here. It's not just in the races, it's in the practice sessions as well. I mean, Tom, how much are you instilling into your drivers to just like try not to be a victim of someone else's mistake?
Yeah, I mean, we start that right from the start of the event, you know, slapping them on the wrists, and you try to. There's no point pushing it 100% at all until, well, we normally say until the sun comes up Sunday morning. So, yeah, trying to stay out of trouble, trying to keep the crews happy that they're not repairing cars. But, I mean, things do happen.
It's hard being the slowest category, though, isn't it? Because half the time it's never your fault.
No, absolutely. And, yeah, I guess the guys, no one wants to have an accident, but it does happen at times. So, yeah, we try and spot for them as well, using the HH timing and giving them traffic management of when there's groups coming and trying to give them a heads up of when all the faster cars are coming, and obviously the cars have the radars on now and bits, so it helps. But yeah, I'm sure when we get into night practice again tonight as well, it's harder again with bright headlights behind you.
And there's not differences in the headlights anymore, is there, in terms of colour?
No,
like
you're
that?
showing your age now, even though your age is not that great. Tom and I remember when you had orange headlights blaring at you, but when did that change? 2010, 11, something like that?
I wouldn't be able to. I'm not that old.
Whatever.
It wasn't that long ago, was it?
GTE Am used to have orange headlights and then the lead category with white headlights. You can tell the difference between the two, but that's changed now. As my father knows, who has a French road car, that still has candles for headlights, which are orange, and I think that's where it all came from, that they were originally a way of telling if you've got a car, what type of car is coming up behind you. How close as a driver, Tom, did you ever come to racing here?
Not close enough, unfortunately. I would have loved to have done it, but no, I never made it over the border. Too much time in a touring car most of the time.
There's so many more opportunities now to race at Segler than there was when you were a professional driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, unfortunately, it would have been one I would love to have ticked off on 100%. It is an incredible event.
Well, you're running Peter Dempsey, aren't you?
I am.
There is an inspiration.
There is, yeah. I mean, he has been incredible this year, so yeah.
What an amazing story. I remember when he was winning Walter Hayes, you know, wheeling out a Formula 4 1600 and doing an incredible things, but it's kind of, it was always, from the very beginning, he felt like it was never going to be able to progress any further because he just didn't have the backing, right?
Yeah.
Even though he was mega fast. And then to see his name come up on some of the biggest events around the world, and he's here and with a great chance of taking victory as well. It's such a great story.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think he spent a lot of the time in the gravel track with Nick Tandy when he was in Formula 4, to be honest, the two of them. Yeah, and he's been, you know, he hasn't driven a race car in anger for 10 years or so, and we tested him, and he was, yeah, brilliant straight out of the box. He's, yeah, really talented guy, taking it in stride. Obviously, it's, you know, he's only done 2 races since he's come back, and his 3rd one's Le Mans, so but he's chipping away at it, and yeah, doing a great job for us.
How confident can you be in a category that has got 23, 4 cars? 25 cars,
yeah.
And they were 2 seconds separating in test day. There's a balance of performance which is supposed to, I should have said that to a team owner, supposed to keep everybody as close to each other as possible. These days when you come to Le Mans, how can you know whether you got the edge?
I was with Ben Keating last night having a chat in his lounge, and we said we feel like any car could win it in class, really. You know, it is that competitive now, so yeah, as they always say, to finish first you have to finish. That is the aim of it, and then I think if we're there at the end of the race, we'll be hopefully on the podium.
Tom just winced a little bit because I think that was Jack Aitken getting very close to one of your cars on the Mulsanne, and of course representing the same automotive group as well, Cadillac and Corvette from GM.
Yeah, it's not. We have the live on board now for all of our cars, and it's not lovely to watch for 24 hours, I can assure you. It's yeah, can be a bit scary at times.
Does it feel like you're getting mesmerised almost, like that scene in 2001 when he starts travelling through time and it's just a blur of colours eventually?
Yeah. I mean, I can't not hear Eduardo Freitas for about 2 days after the race.
Presumably you got a nickname for his AI girlfriend.
I think she's called Kate.
Is
But
she?
yeah,
No,
by name in race control.
Okay, I should just emphasise for the viewers at home that
Everyone doesn't have an AI girlfriend.
the AI assistant that you will hear, the one who does the countdown to the full course yellows and whatnot. Her name is Kate.
She has got a name. Okay, I missed that bit.
Yeah.
In terms of, you don't have to answer this question, Tom, but you've got 5 cars here at Le Mans. You don't own those 5 cars, do you? They're not sort of hundreds of millions of your own dollars in investing.
No, they're the finance man's.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we own 3 of them out of the 5.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yes, plus the spares, plus it gets it tots up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So.
Even though you are effectively pseudo works team here.
Yeah, I guess our contract is to be the WEC Corvette team. So effectively, obviously Pratt Miller run in IMSA, and we do the WEC program for them. So yeah.
It's a funny world, the customer racing world, because ultimately, I think to the layman, you say, well, obviously they're the works team, and they're all works teams. But actually, because they're customer racing, we have the same thing in touring cars. You weren't allowed to be a works team because the regulations of customer racing don't allow it. But you pretty much are, really.
Yeah, I think the way we're supported feels like that as well, to be honest. We're working with all the GM Pratt engineers and stuff. It's pretty impressive now, and every time I walk into our data room it gets bigger and there's more wires and more screens, and so it's but
we're still able to I'm still not necessarily me, but one is still able to bring a car to you, and especially if it's a Corvette, and say, right, I bought this Corvette, I want to go racing, and you can run it as Antares Al does with various different.
Yeah, absolutely. We still do our European Le Mans Series program. We've done Asian Le Mans the last few years. So we have the P2 car as well. So yeah, we are still a customer racing team. I think just when the way the WEC changed the rules to be 2 cars per manufacturer, kind of almost forced this slightly works team feeling into it. But yeah, for other programs we're.
So in total, what's underneath your shed?
So we have the 2 WEC cars, our ELMS car, Corvette. We have a spare ELMS Corvette, should I say, not just ELMS. The P2 car, and then a spare P2 car as well. So yeah, 6.
But you're quite good at not keeping them on and letting them mothball. You get rid of them.
I can't fit them. It's the problem. Well, yes. I have to sell them so we can close the door. No, we've had a few collectors along the way that have, a guy from Germany that took all of our Aston stuff, pretty much. So, which was good because I needed to get rid of it. So I'm sure the Corvette thing will be very similar. You kind of find these collector guys who want the Le Mans history, and it's getting huge now. The classic side of things. The regulations have obviously stretched to more recent cars now, so there's a fairly big demand for them also. And then maybe when I get even older again, that'll be my next phase into it. Start running all the cars we used to run. Because at Imola it was quite interesting. Our 23 Aston Martin was driving around in the support race, which was quite strange to see.
And there are so many teams already sort of having that extra branch, but I guess you'd need a bigger warehouse.
Yeah, I mean it's something that we'd maybe look at to support overheads in the future. But I can't think of anything else at the moment. It's busy enough with the European Le Mans Series and WEC. There seems to be a lot of back-to-back races and a lot of travel, and so it's enough.
I wasn't an ex-TF Sport driver, but I was an ex-Tom Ferrier driver.
You were.
So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a good result.
Were you the OG TF driver then, in that case?
I don't know, that was pretty early days of you running.
It was very, very early, wasn't it?
It was 2012?
Yeah, so when did we start Scuderia Vittoria? That was...
It was only 2010 or
10
11.
probably,
right?
or 11, yeah, it was very, very early, so... Yeah,
we once put a Clio setup on a Ginetta. That was fun to drive. It wasn't actually Tom, it was somebody else. But, keeping my fingers crossed for you, Tom. Thanks so much for taking a little bit of time to come and speak to us.
I hope you get your aircon fixed.
And you're very welcome to come and have a sauna anytime.
Yeah, well, maybe when it gets cold in the night, we'll pop over.
Brilliant. Tom Ferrier from TF Sport.
Thank you.
Running 5 cars here at Le Mans. We've still got an hour and 16 minutes remaining of this session. It has gone, touch wood, there was a lot of wood in here, pretty trouble-free, I have to say. Cadillac still with the fastest time on the board, not much big changes in hypercar. EDEX Sport, by the way, are the fastest in the LMP2 category, just ahead of the TF AO by TF PJ Hyatt aboard that car. And then in GT3, it is the Lexus which has the fastest time right now, just a tenth faster than Darren Lung's BMW, and the Team Qatar by Iron Link's Mercedes lying in third position, but at least two of those cars already back in pits and having some servicing done. Lots and lots of activity both on track and in pit lane right now as we switch out from Tom Ferrier to another guest in our pit box. I hope you're enjoying this, everybody, because I'm loving it.
Yes, I'm absolutely loving it as well. Now we welcome Stephen Pickley, the Endurance Programme Manager from Goodyear Racing, who joins us now. And yes, while the top cars may be running on Michelins, but the rest of the field is running on Goodyear, so the majority of the field on the Eagle compounds. Stephen, it's quite a big week for you guys. Apparently you've got something like 7,000 tyres here.
Yes, well, firstly, thank you for welcoming me to the box. So it's really great to see. So this is my first Le Mans 24. So
oh, really?
I've been racing for 25 years, but never been to this event. So
even as a fan.
Even as a fan, so I'm super excited to be here.
Oh yeah,
amazing! Well, what a first experience for you to come in here and see how it's all done.
This is not the nicest commentary box. There are better ones. We haven't decorated well enough yet. It was our first day,
and some of them have working aircon as well.
yes. But no, it's correct. It's Goodyear's biggest endurance event in history. So we have 70% of the cars, 44 in total between the LMP2 and the GT3 category.
Oh, that's pretty amazing, and something like 100 members of staff as well to work out all of those tyres.
Yes, our operation site is pretty large this year. I think it's about 3,300 square metres. I think at the peak it's going to be around about 120 staff in total.
Wow.
So that's going to be split obviously between the team on the service who will be fitting the tyres. We have engineers for each of the teams as well, each of the cars. And then we also have obviously like catering and support staff, etc. as well. So.
Worth pointing out that if you are not particularly familiar with the idea of tyres and rims and teams don't have enough rims to service a full 24 hours. So the tyres are constantly coming back from the garages to Goodyear, rims, tyres being exchanged, coming back again, rotating, obviously keeping some for wets and others for the two compounds perhaps you've got. So there is a constant movement of tyres in pit lane and paddock, and it's a huge operation from Goodyear just to be able to do that in the first place. And then the team's having all these extra people, and then you've got the people in the pit lane setting up those tyres, making sure the pressures are correct, that the teams are running the cambers correctly. So it's not just a case of actually putting the tyres on the rims, is it? It's actually then servicing them out on the pit lane.
Yes, no, that's fully correct. It's not just the fitting of the tyres which we're responsible for. So each team will have a dedicated engineer. Especially in the WEC Championship, they'll have them for the full season. That engineer is pretty much embedded within that team, working with their engineers. They'll be carrying out tyre analysis, providing feedback to the team, explaining exactly how that tyre is working, and then providing advice on setup, but more guidance on how to get the most from the tyres. Because it's quite easy to put a lot of energy into a tyre, which is great for getting a fast lap time. But when you're racing for 24 hours, it's being just quick for one lap isn't the be-all and end-all.
Yeah, very much, yes. Qualifying, we're sort of thinking a little bit about that because it's only just over an hour away now, but we do have to get these cars through multiple stints and through the 24-hour race, and that's, at the end of the day, the prize is for the person who wins the race, not for the one who comes in qualifying. So whilst we're working on getting a one-lap pace out, I particularly think in GT3 there must be a little bit of nervousness about making sure you can get through qualifying, because you don't want to lose out today with the 9 cars being eliminated in the first part of qualifying. At least in LMP2 and Hypercar, it's only a couple of them, so they possibly aren't quite as nervous. They know that they've got FP2 tonight, they know they've got FP3 tomorrow before they get into the proper setting of the grid. But I feel like GT3 might be a little bit more nervousness there. We ride on board with the Toyota number 7, who's having an interesting
driving. We see a lot of brake pressure into turn 15. Maybe try to have less peak brake pressure in turn 15 and then roll more the speed through 15.
So 14 and 15, that is the Michelin chicane. Sorry to mention that while you're in there.
Second chicane.
Yeah, we should have put it that. Second chicane on the Mulsanne.
1 hour and 10 minutes remaining in the session. We are starting to see some times come in once again. Alpine have got themselves up to third position with the 35 car. Ferdinand Habsburg doing a 3:26.3 on his last lap. So different run plans for different people. Some people going with the long run, some people going with the qualifying laps. I reckon Alpine are probably one of the ones being a bit nervous about whether they're going to get through or not into the second part of qualifying. Yeah, going back to Goodyear.
Well, Steve, my big question for you actually is that you've got one type of tyre, right? How on earth do you make that work for a McLaren and a Corvette and a Porsche and a Ferrari and a Lexus and all these different types of cars that use very different engine configurations and layouts? You've got some that are front, mid, rear engined, all these different methodologies of their road cars that go into these race cars, and yet your tyre has to work across all of them.
Yes, that's correct. For the LMP2 category, we have one slick, one wet, and for the GT3 category, also one slick, one wet in the medium compound. This tyre is working on 9 manufacturers. We have front engine cars, mid-engine layouts, and also rear engine as well. You know, one of the things I do have to give credit to is our engineering team. You know, they spent quite a lot of time developing this tyre. They tested it in various conditions, at various circuits around the globe, in different times, you know, in different seasons, to really make sure that the operating window is as wide as possible. And then I think that, you know, the end result and what we're seeing is extremely close racing. So if we look, for example, at the race in Imola, where a front-engine BMW won, and then we go to Spa a few weeks later, a mid-engine McLaren was winning. And then even this week at the test, I think all the GT3 cars were within 2 seconds of each other.
But I mean, you've got to test your car somehow, right? But you can't get all 12 GT3 cars together and test your tyre using all 12 at the same time. So to be able to be good across all the brands available in GT3, that must be difficult to nail down when you need to do real-world testing and you need a car to do that.
Yes, we've been in endurance racing since 1965, so we have a lot of experience in
was Ian happy with the bias? I guess we'll see.
Bias looked like it could come rearwards a little bit from where it was. Judge on the ABS is a straight line braking.
So the team have a really good experience in developing tyres, especially now in this monobrand tyre category, where previously we were in open tyre competition. So typically the testing will start off in circuits which we know quite well. I believe the testing was done in places like Bahrain, Paul Ricard, Barcelona, and yeah. So basically, we get a good feel for using all the different manufacturers. We get a good feel for how the car is working.
Talking tyres with Goodyear here in the commentary box as we watch Zachary Robuchon getting more laps into his number 27 LMGT3 machine, and so they're talking about the ability to get a GT3 car working across or multiple different GT3 cars across the same tyre. How then close is that GT3 tyre to the LMP2 tyre? Is it a completely different philosophy? You have to start again?
I won't say a completely different philosophy, but they are different tyres. So we call them the Goodyear Eagle Racing Slicks medium spec. However, the compound is slightly different, and also the carcass, there's a difference there as well.
And are you getting instruction from the promoter of WEC and the ACO? Are they telling you what the tyre needs to do. It needs to be good for a triple stint or a double stint, or it needs to have a really good peak and then a really stable drop off. Or where do the sort of the design parameters come from, or is that from inside Goodyear?
I think the main design target is to bring fairness to the category, because it's monobrand, and especially within the LMGT3 category, we have so many different types of car. We're just going to make sure that the tyre is usable for all the different manufacturers to try and keep it fair.
Is that something that is potentially going to change when LMP2 is well, supposedly going to be a bit more multi-manufacturing in 2028 for the next generation car, with Ligier also making the next gen car? So is that something you're already thinking about? Like, we have to make it work with 2 different chassis now?
Yes, yeah. With the LMP2 category and the potential of having the two chassis in that class in the near future, yes, we'll be testing with both, working closely with both manufacturers, and looking again to try and achieve what we've done with the LMGT3, having a tyre which doesn't really favour either of the chassis.
Here and now with this Orica 07, possibly one of the best and most successful racing cars ever created, where are the demands on the tyre on this circuit? So
around this circuit, from what I understand, it's very much going on to the long straight. The circuit's fairly easy on the tyres compared to what we do across the whole season. But going on to the straight, I understand that there's a lot of time to be gained, by being quite aggressive on the entry, and by using the curbs, which is one of the areas the drivers we always say to take note, because we don't want them to degrade their tyres too quickly, because one of the biggest plus points for Goodyear is having that consistency over the whole stint.
See, that's so interesting, because you hear so much about endurance drivers having to be smooth and be kind to the car and kind to the tyres in order to make them last. But I think in your pre-event press release, you can do 5 stints on this tyre in LMP2. You can actually, the tyre can go further than the driver is legally allowed to in the car.
Yes, so one of the main things we focus on is consistency and performance. We don't really want to compromise either. And even this week in the tests, we had cars completing 51 laps, which I think is around about 700 kilometres of this circuit. Then the tyre was pretty much at the end of its life. But we think when it comes to the race, strategy for both LMP2 and the GT3 category will be 3 stints, especially during the day, and as they move into the night, the expectation is they're going to move to 4. Well, some of the teams will be moving to 4 stints, try and gain that little bit of time in the pit stops.
And how temperature sensitive is your tyre? We were talking earlier on the broadcast that right now is what, 18, 90 degrees I think outside, but we're expecting 32 degrees on race Sunday. Is there much that the teams will need to do to chase the tyre when that progression happens, or is it pretty good despite that 10 degrees in the air will probably be 15, 20 degrees on the track?
The Goodyear medium compound has such a wide operating window that for the whole season we take the same tyre to every race, and that's the same whether it's LMP2 or LMGT3. So even though we're going to see big differences in temperature from the afternoon, from the day when we're going to see the peaks into the night sessions, the tyre won't change so much. If anything, they might get a little bit more longevity in the night sessions in the cooler temperatures, but on a whole the tyre will be quite stable, which means that it's going to be very minimal, if no adjustment to the cars to compensate for the temperature change.
So they won't need to be sort of chasing tyre pressures, things like this?
No, you may find that some teams will just compensate a little bit, just because the tyre will be running out a little bit cooler in the evening, but the changes are quite small.
And how restrictive do Goodyear have to be with the teams when it comes to giving them a window of... I mean, I know teams desperately trying to sort of run the edge of the windows, whether it be camber, whether it be caster, whether it be tyre pressures. Are you finding that they are pushing you, or does the tyres sit happily outside of the sort of the safety windows that all tyres would have?
I think historically we found teams were pushing the tyres beyond where we were comfortable.
Yeah.
However, in recent years, but the last 2-3 years, even though we do provide pressure and camber targets, the teams aren't really pushing the boundaries anymore. They realise that we design a tyre to work with the cars, and because of that, we don't really have any issues.
That's great, which means in theory you shouldn't see as many failures on circuit of teams that half the time when you see a failure of a tyre, it's not because the tyre is bad, it's because the team has pushed it beyond its boundary, and so that's good. That's really good news from a brand point of view.
Yeah, the consistency and the robustness of the tyre is really high. So I think the whole team are quite relaxed with the product we bought, the integrity of the product, from a circuit and from the vehicle point of view. We're not expecting any issues at all.
How do we feel about the bridge? Because it's going to be a huge talking point for fans at Le Mans coming here. Obviously, seeing it just there.
On the front right, it feels like it's on the front right quite a lot.
I don't have the exact number when Dunlop Bridge was put up and when it was first coloured and branded, but it's been there a very long time. First year, it's now a Dunlop curve. Not a Dunlop curb, not a Dunlop bridge, but a Goodyear curb and Goodyear bridge. It's a change for Circular Sun.
I would just like to come in right now and voice my support of it. I think it looks fantastic.
It does.
Yes, I was about to say. It does look. I think the finish does look great. I think it fits with the keeping off the bridge concept. So we call it the Goodyear Paracel.
Passerelle. Is it still? You can still get people over the top of it. I think no, they shut it now. You went because there used to be the stage used to be on the outside there, didn't it? The music stage before they then moved it next to the TV compound, and we just got Mika shouting at us most of the evening. But you used to be able to use that, I think.
Well, Goodyear have got something better than the bridge, though, haven't they, Stephen?
You got your blitz.
Yes. Yeah. So this week we have sort of 3 areas of focus away from the racing on track. So yes, we have the bridge. We also have a huge stage in the fan village with various interactions the fans can enjoy, and obviously the bridge, the blimp will be arriving I think later today.
And presumably people on that blimp are going to get a pretty spectacular view. I understand you're even taking some marshals up there as well this weekend, which I think is great because they give up their time and effort, and they're all volunteers. So I think that's an absolutely fantastic way to repay them. But,
I thought we sort of half got a yellow flag because we've got the graphics on the screen, and then it's been removed within about a second. It was at Marshall Point 11, which is chicane number 1, which probably means an overshoot down there.
Yes. So usually quite quickly.
It was a double yellow.
So maybe a car stationary for a little bit. I haven't checked the full race direction briefing, but potentially there might be a note that if you go across the chicane, you have to stop.
We'll be surprised.
Continuing on.
Talking of legendary helmets, we just had Tom Ferrier show his old school helmet livery, and Mike Conway still runs exactly the same helmet livery that he ran when he was karting, and don't want to give away his age, but that was a good plus 20 years ago, and that helmet livery has stayed the same throughout his IndyCar career and into the Toyotas. Great to have him here because of course he missed last year.
So yeah, found it quite tricky sector 1 today. I mean, they definitely had to brake earlier for turn 2. Never quite got that right, honestly. So just slowly chipping away at that one. And then turn 5, just mainly understeer there. I didn't get to do a change. So every time he asked me, it was kind of just not enough time. I kept missing it, so I never got to turn 5. But yeah, just general understeer there. We'll probably do, maybe a V-valve or a shift as well. And then understeer through turn 7.
I am absolutely loving how much detail we're getting in on the team radios, how long they are. You think it's over, and then they come out and spill a few more secrets for you. I'm sure that after this session, though, every team is going to go up to the TV broadcasters and complain about all the team radio they've been playing.
Well, as we had Tom Ferrier listening in and going, oh, they're sharing that, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, interesting. It's a good job that there isn't any on Goodyear's side of things, otherwise we'd be hearing all sorts of strategy stuff, wouldn't we?
Are you guys packing your wets away yet? Because, I mean, it looks great, the weather forecast, isn't it? Or have you guys got a different one to me?
I think the forecast has been quite changeable throughout the week, so it has been a situation where with so many different forecasts, we've fitted wets, stripped them off, then refitted them, and then stripped them off again as the teams are trying to anticipate the weather coming in. So we have had some quite heavy downpours, but thankfully so far we haven't had it during the session.
This is the 83 serving a 5-minute stop-and-go penalty for track limits. I believe it was Robert Kubitzer that was responsible for bringing that one in.
Yeah, it's not just one track limit, it's his 7th track limit.
There you go.
Listen, start the engine and stand by for 5 minutes.
So the engine has to be running, by the sounds of things.
Interesting. Unless you misheard it in the transcription of it off, because it's a bit odd to have it on for those 5 minutes. But you know, track limits is a major talking point at Le Mans all the time. Stephen, how is the Goodyear tyre with handling the
gravel traps and curbs?
Well, yeah, curbs and the runoff areas where drivers are dipping their wheels into places they shouldn't be.
Yeah, so I think it's no surprise that we do design the tyres to be on the asphalt, because running across the curbs and obviously even off track is past racing. It's something which won't happen. So, but there is certain circuits, not so much at Le Mans, but there is other tracks. I believe Sao Paulo may be one of the more severe, where if the cars are repeatedly, breaching track limits, then we can, I won't say damage, but we do give the drivers a little bit of a warning. Just go a little bit easier on the tyres there.
I doubt they pay attention to it, though.
No, they don't.
Yeah, of course, the typical racing drivers.
You guys got the opportunity to have communication with race control regarding cuts in the tyre from curbs, and then you actually race control. Could you modify this, that, and the other because it's damaging our tyres? Is that part of the dialogue?
We do raise the topic, especially if there's one area which is bringing a bit more of a concern than normal. However, no, I think generally it's okay.
53 minutes remaining of free practice 1 here at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It's been pretty undramatic, really. Everybody is just going about what they've been doing in testing. There's been a lot of dramatic feedback from teams and drivers not happy with the way that the cars have been set up. But this, let's not forget, is the only free practice session pre-first qualifying.
We're missing a bit of entry speed in Terre Rouge. Entry speed Terre Rouge.
And more is the feedback from garage to driver about how they are driving. That performance engineer role seems to become more and more apparent here in WEC and Le Mans 24 Hours. Of course, in Formula One for many, many years. But the idea of coaching in other sports is huge. But motorsport sort of historically didn't have that coaching element in professional sport. In the amateur levels, where you have your gentleman drivers, of course. But hearing somebody saying to Antonio Giovinazzi, sometime Formula One driver, go faster through the start of that corner. It's interesting feedback we're getting from our team radio.
It's amazing stuff and really, really insightful. We have got a couple of minutes left with Stephen, so just while we still have you, obviously there's probably a lot coming for the future with Goodyear. We've alluded to the new generation of LMP2. and you developed the hard tyre as well last year as well. That got introduced in the middle of the season. So, and then it's not just here you're racing as well. It's the entire European Le Mans series that you guys have to do. So, presumably your calendar's getting quite busy at the moment.
Yes, I think if you look at all the activities we're currently involved with, it's pretty much every weekend we're on track somewhere in the world, whether it's NASCAR at the Nürburgring or with the ELMS and the World Endurance Championship. But short term, yeah, we have some big plans. We have new tyres coming for both LMP2 and also LMGT3 in 2027. So there'll be some big news about them in the very near future. And then longer term, Goodyear have big ambitions to be number one in tyres and service. So racing is at the core of what we do, and we're looking to expand in several directions in the future. So
that's really fascinating to hear, and honestly, the effort that you guys have to put in for this week to make all the LMP2 and LMGT3 cars run, it boggles my mind, honestly, the job that you guys do. So it's been fantastic to hear about. Thank you so much for coming in and having a chat with us.
Thank you for having us. It's been great.
One extra thing to tick off your list.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Stephen Kilby from Goodyear Racing. Very much appreciate coming in. And all the best to the team that are running the tyres for this weekend.
Riding on board with Mike Conway, 310 kilometres, 315 kilometres an hour, just shy of 200 miles an hour down the Mulsanne straight, coming towards the first of the two chicanes. The first one goes right, the second one initially goes left. And they, I think, from what we were hearing from Mike, are on a bit of a push lap. We've got Brendan Hartley out there in the number 8 that has set a fastest first sector of anybody so far, and we are now going to start talking a little bit more about the pictures, because things are starting to happen now at the end of free practice. We're going to see qualifying simulations, and we're going to start getting a real feel for what these cars are capable of and what the pecking order really is, because the balance of performance here at Le Mans is based off previous years at Le Mans. The rest of the season is based off every other race, and so there's a huge amount of data in WEC world, but when it comes to Le Mans, we only have 4 or 5 years worth of hypercar data, and obviously it's still evolving because we get new manufacturers every year that we don't have the data for to be able to balance them versus the others. And I think that's partly why we're getting the field closing up so much, is because the balance of performance is becoming more and more efficient and easier to do. There's a few other little things that happened over the winter that has also allowed balance of performance to be closer, in that all cars were in the same aerodynamic facility in North Carolina. Previously, the European manufacturers were in Hinval and the Sauber wind tunnel, whereas the American manufacturers were in North Carolina. So two wind tunnels can give you two separate sort of lines of data. Now everybody was in the same wind tunnel by force of Audi basically taking over the wind tunnel from Sauber and saying, no, you can't come in anymore. So we really don't know who's fast and who's slow right now. Brendan Hartley still hasn't made it through that second sector. We're waiting to see as we watch the Aston Martin now out on circuit. We can go down to Jethro Bovington in just a few moments' time, who has been speaking to Romain De Angelis. And we watch the 007 and 009 circulate around the circuits. Alex Riberas is in the 009 right now.
I'm down at the Aston Martin 4 team. Romain De Angelis has just stepped out of the 009 car. How are things looking out there? What are conditions like?
Yeah, the track's actually changed quite a bit since last Sunday during the test day. The wind seems to have a big effect. Certain areas of the track obviously changing quite a lot due to that. The track's obviously a bit more green now. We've had other championships, other tire manufacturers on the track in this week's time that we've kind of had off to prep and relax. So yeah, it's definitely a bit different, but we're just trying to go through our checklist and make sure we're prepared for Saturday.
Can you talk a bit about the progression between last year and this year, because the car is so much more refined, you're incredibly competitive and set the pace in prologue, so tell us about that evolving nature of the car.
Yeah, I mean, last year, as we saw and as we knew going in, we're against some of the best manufacturers in the world that have been in the sport for a long time. So jumping into the top class a few years late was never going to be easy. But we have a really good group of people here with the Heart of Racing and Aston. I'm obviously more of the IMSA guy and come over to do the long races in this championship. So it's been great to see the shared information between both sides and see the progression we've had there and on this side as well, and working together. So I think having two championships that work really well together and share information has been crucial. And yeah, we're looking forward to hopefully getting our first WEC podium, and sometime this year would be great.
Do you think it's too early to see where the competition is? Do you know roughly where you're at? Are you aiming Hyperpole 1, Hyperpole 2, pole position?
It's so hard to say here. You don't really know. A lot of people are doing race running. Most of my runs have been race runs. Obviously, Alex is going to do the qualifying later today, so he's focused on qualifying runs. And you don't know what everyone's doing. Qualifying doesn't really matter here. As much as we'd love to be in Hyperpole 2, it doesn't matter, and we have 24 hours to make sure we have a good race car and the systems work well and we're reliable. So that's the priority, and I think the other manufacturers think the same. So we'll see.
Okay, well, good luck. Thanks for talking to us. Thank you.
Roman DeAngelis in pit lane, the Canadian driver, who's been with the Heart of Racing for quite a few years now, winner of the IMSA Championship over in America in their GT series. As we ride on board with now Mike Conway in the number 7 Toyota in his 11th start, and made his return last year after missing 2024, having fractured his ribs and collarbone in a cycling incident, and had to have Chito Lopez stand in for him. And the Argentinian himself is back with the Lexus crew once again. Breakdown into Arnage corner. We're about to go underneath the Porsche bridge. But this is the car we were talking about earlier that has undergone significant aerodynamic changes since last year.
This lap, track limit turn 7. It's our 4th call. No more track limits, otherwise we need to box.
Conway now falling afoul of the track limits as well. But we were talking earlier about jokers, and just to kind of explain what that is, you have 5 joker development tokens, so to speak, that you can use on these hypercars until 2027. You do get 2 more for 2028 and 2029 as part of the extension of the hypercar regulations. You also have 1 entirely new car homologation during that period as well, which no one as yet has done, I don't believe. But in terms of those Evo Jokers, Toyota have used at least 1 before 2026. It's unclear how many were used for this aerodynamic update, so there is a little bit of a debate about that one. But we look at, say, Cadillac, for example, who've used 3. Peugeot has used all of them, so they've got nothing else left that they can do to that car until it gets re-homologated. But Ferrari have only used 1, which was to redesign their brake cooling ducts, and you know, they didn't seem at all worried about the fact that, you know, Alpine and BMW and Toyota have come here with more upgrades on the car for this year compared to 2025. Ferrari's philosophy seems to be more about, we want to fully exploit and understand the car we have, rather than just throwing changes at it.
And I think the problem is you develop you do these jokers and you almost go a step back, right? Because you know the car, and then you add a joker, an Evo, a bit like we were talking with Fuminelli about the Evo in the Ferrari GT3 car. You've not got a different car, but you do have different parameters you play with. The car's balance changes, and then you almost having to start again and learn. And I think what we're seeing with the reason why, particularly Toyota. I think the reason why Toyota haven't been able to be as fast as they were 1 year ago is because they've done that big change. And remember, the balance of performance is to balance all the cars to the same potential. It is not the same speed. It is here's the actual data that we get from the car, whether it be downforce numbers or whether it be power. We use that and we make sure that all the different cars are exactly the same. It is then down to the team to find that potential. And I think what Toyota have right now is they haven't yet found the potential of their new Evo in a way that other teams are totally on top of, for instance, Cadillac, their car. Then you throw in the new tyre and how far you can go, and the efficiency and the classic Le Mans subjects of lift and coast, and then you talking about a different thing. But ultimately, Toyota, for me, have got a lot of learning to do if they want to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans for this year. But as Chris said, it's only ever been an LMH car that has won in the hypercar era. LMDH car has never won.
Progressively the brake, try to hit progressively the brake. Brake are cold at this moment. Remember to pump a bit more as well. Remember to pump. And then we go for one flying up and increasing the braking all the stint.
Jack Holdsworth in the car that is currently fastest in LMGT3, in the oldest car in the field, the Lexus RCF, and what we believe is the swan song for this car, with the new Toyota developed machine coming for 2027, the GR GT3 with a brand new engine and a brand new look for that team.
Yeah, worth pointing out that the reason why Lexus is allowed to be in that GT3 category is because it is a partner of Toyota, the luxury brand of Toyota. You are only, in theory, allowed to be in GT3 if you are represented in hypercar. Now, I say in theory because Ford haven't yet got a hypercar, but it's coming. McLaren, absolutely the same. I suppose the outlier is the Mercedes.
Yes, and that was more of a fill-in for Lamborghini, wasn't it, after their short-lived hypercar program with the SC63, because Toto Wolff has certainly made it very clear he's got no interest in entering the hypercar or LMDH at all for Mercedes, whereas it does still make sort of commercial sense for teams to compete in LMGT3 and GT3 in general.
Well, it's actually a completely different world, because the point of making a GT3 car is to sell it to customers and make money.
Exactly. Win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
You're not doing that in hypercar. That's a very improvised way of getting into pit lane from the 99.
That is Rocky the Pegasus, the brand new character from AO Racing, their fourth different character after Roxy the Dragon, the dinosaur, his sister Rexy, and Spike the Dragon, which is what we're used to seeing on the LMP2 car of PJ Hyatt. And Pegasus getting a little bit of the grass and taking a rough ride over those curves.
Obviously, the bronze in that car will be doing qualifying later on today in the LMP2 category and GT3 category. It must be your lowest rated driver, so PJ Hyatt will be that driver. And if the car was running well and it was second fastest and the fastest Pro-Am car, it may not run as well now, because that's poorly treated coming into pit lane, and he'll also get pinged by race control for not entering in a safe manner. There's no doubt about that.
Is it James Allen who's just got aboard that car? Because it did just come out of pit lane a few seconds ago, didn't it? James Allen standing in for Louis Delatraz, who is standing in for Alex Lynn in the number 12 Cadillac. And we are wishing Alex Lynn all the best. He was due to have surgery on his neck for a problem he's had since 2024, it turns out, but complications with scheduling that surgery, which he can't have until later this month, means that he was unable to compete here. He hasn't competed all season, in fact, has Alex Lynn, and so Louis Delatraz stepping in as someone who has won an LMP2 title every year for the last 5 years, and is very familiar with the Cadillac, having also raced it over in America.
More wincing from Tom Ferrier as another of his TF Sport cars goes grass tracking at the final part of the lap. But we are seeing cars now pushing, and Norman Nato is on a lap for Cadillac Team Jota, the number 12 machine with a green sector. Ben Keating, yeah, has just got out of his Cadillac in TF Sport. That is one shiny helmet, Mr. Car Guy.
Isn't it just? And Ben Keating once again proving that he is one of the best gentleman drivers in this field.
Notice not using his right hand there to take his helmet off, doing it one-handed. He's still suffering from an elbow injury from mountain biking, and you know, there's obviously smiles. He hasn't been racing over the last couple of months to try and get the elbow sorted. A lot of love from Nicky Katzberg and Ben Keating, and a lot of love for Nicky Katzberg in general, really. Yeah, Ben damaging his elbow mountain biking, had surgery and has been resting it, and it says that he's ready to go, but I still think he is not 100% there by the looks of the way he's removed his helmet just now with one hand. I think I'd be using both usually. Still lots of work going on in garage areas, chasing setup. Of course, if you are in the bottom three, of which Peugeot are, Peugeot at the moment 17th and 18th fastest in hypercar, behind both the Genesis, and so this could potentially mean a disaster at Le Mans for a French brand. If that is the same result for qualifying, they're not going through to qualifying tomorrow.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That Peugeot's really struggled around here over the last few years. Remember, that is the car that was on pole position at the last World Endurance Championship round at Spa-Francorchamps. So, one to watch out for in qualifying.
Now the main issue is really the understeer need to exit of medium speed and high speed corner, also all the board curves and karting.
Thank you. Copy.
Baby Gilbert, Matthias Gilbert, the youngest member of the 17 crew there, reporting back. I say baby, watch out on the social media for their launch film, where they have ripped off the introduction to the film Baby with Matthias and Jamie Chadwick, Andrea Lotterer and the rest, and even Gabby Tarquini has a line in the film as well.
I'm joined by Logan Sargent, car 88, Ford Mustang LMG T3. Logan, you've been in the car very recently. Didn't sound like it went perfectly to plan out there.
No, it wasn't perfect. You know, rebuilt the car from the test as everyone does, and we had to check a few things over. And when I went out there, I felt like we took a little step backwards from the test in terms of balance that we had the other day. So need to try and dig into that, get back what we had, and then just, yeah, it was a bit of a traffic mess, a bit of track limits issues, but no, nonetheless, definitely not as bad as it looks or it went. Just, yeah, a little bit messy.
Okay, viewers will know you from F1, obviously. This is a whole different ball game. We know you're in the development team for the hypercar, but the LMG T3, big, production-based, heavy. How do you dial your brain into such a different form of motorsport?
I mean, it's completely different, but you just have to adapt to it the best you can. Obviously, it doesn't suit exactly what I'm used to driving, but that's okay. Just expanding the toolbox, I guess you can say, and yeah, we'll see where we end up this weekend.
Okay, do you actually enjoy physically driving the car? It must move around quite a lot. You've got, I don't know, a different discipline altogether. Are you starting to enjoy it, or is that still teething troubles?
No, it's okay. I'm enjoying it more and more. Obviously, this is an amazing track. I don't enjoy it as much as a prototype or a Formula car, but no, that's okay. It's all different forms of racing, and as I get used to it, I enjoy it more and more. But yeah, I'm excited for this weekend, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you for talking to us on the hypercar to come. So we'll be back. Thank you.
Yeah, getting ready for the hypercar in 2027 with Ford. They're a bit behind in terms of McLaren. The two brands are coming into WEC next year, but we've yet to see a Ford really run. We have had McLaren out testing. We do have lap times starting to be delivered. Earl Bamber has got within 0.3 of a second of the Cadillac Wayne Taylor racing machine that's had that fastest lap time since the early part of the day. And Brendan Hartley is on a big push lap right now in the number 8 Toyota with the fastest of anybody through the first sector. The second sector is a green, and he's in the latter stages of the third sector. So we may get a new fastest lap time in this practice session from Brendan Hartley. We haven't seen him on screen, so we don't know how much traffic he's got. I think he has caught somebody through the Porsche curves, and he's only got the Ford chicane to come.
Well, we've got one more guest in the commentary box for us here in this FP1 session, and it is Tommaso Mosca. Thank you very much for coming in and having a chat with us.
Ciao Chris, thank you. Ciao everyone.
Officially Ferrari factory driver as of this year. So what was it like getting that phone call?
Yeah, you know, it was a very big thing. I was almost crying after all the fatigue that we made, and I made actually for this role. Oh, let's see.
A little bit of traffic.
Yeah,
all three classes in the middle of the road together there.
Yeah, getting very close to the TDS number 14 of Tobias Lütke. But thankfully just managing to avoid contact. But yeah.
Anyway, it's a good chance to be here and to be with Ferrari. Of course, is so emotional for me. You know, from Italy, racing for Ferrari is quite a big thing.
You've been busy already. I saw you at the Daytona 24 Hours as well. You're running in various GT competitions around the world, racing here this weekend as well. We were chatting with David Fuminelli earlier about the Road to Le Mans race. So who are you with this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we will see. We'll see. I mean, it's the first time for me in Le Mans, so I take it as a just a training for me. Of course, I will give everything for the race, but it will be the first time. So it's very big. It's very strange to be in Le Mans. You know, it's something that I always dreamed of from when I was a kid, also to be here. And you see, you are on the streets here in between Mulsanne. It's very beautiful. You know.
What was your first impression?
But I was the problem was the first impression I had yesterday when I was in the car coming here. You know, I was on the straight in the Mulsanne straight, and I said, okay, maybe I'm in Le Mans, and it's crazy. So today that I drove 1 or 2 laps, it was beautiful. You know, it was emotional.
I can't imagine what it must feel like going through the Porsche curves, you know, for the first time.
But this morning was a bit tricky, you know. The tracks was so green, so yeah, it was a bit tricky.
We've been hearing so much about that. Everyone's struggling so much for grip out there. I suppose, you know, the rain shower we had yesterday didn't help very much.
Yeah, of course. Maybe, you know, with the time and with all the cars that are racing, maybe it goes a bit better every session. So we'll see the next ones.
Well, we've got just under half an hour left to run in this session, and Tommaso, you've been out there, you've experienced the circuit. Try and explain to us, put us in the driver's seat and explain what a lap around this fantastic circuit feels like.
Okay, so yeah, it's quite strange, you know. It's in the first part it's not so tricky, you know. We have two mega straights as Mulsanne it is, so it's quite okay. First sector we have to be very like you have to stay a bit closer to the normal pace, not on the limit because of the track limits. So especially in the first sector it's quite tricky. Then from the second sector until the last part it's quite okay. I mean, it's so straight, so it's better to have a good car on the straights, of course, better than in the corners. Anyway, when you come to Porsche curves, it becomes a bit tricky, you know. First right and first left, you know, close to the wall is something, you know, especially going in more than 200 kph is so big, so it's quite fun. Then when you arrive in fourth curves are quite tricky too, because you have to nail the first corner to get the second and the third one right, so you know it's quite tricky.
Where are those hotspots for track limits? Because we're seeing a lot of those infringements come up, and even stop-and-go penalties for multiple infractions.
It's quite easy to take track limits after the first chicane, so the first two corners, you know, and even in Tetra Rouge it's quite easy to get it on the outside. You know, it's Tetra Rouge is this one.
So is the curb wide enough there for you to run?
But it is wide enough. I mean, the limit is the white line, so we know, everyone knows that. So, and it's for our safety, and it's right that it's the white line. So you have to lane it, of course, to stay in the asphalt in the right place, and not to take like all the curb and whatever. But if the curb is like that, we have to respect it. So it's right.
Presumably here is also.
Yeah, even the last part of Porsche curves is quite tricky to respect. So, I mean, not this part, but the earlier.
Because you're flat out.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, that's flat out.
And the pit lane entry, you're not allowed to move into that, are you? You have to keep your tyres to the left.
Yeah, until the line is not, you know, it's not full white line, you cannot go there, so, yeah.
Okay, so right now.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Go through there. And this chicane as well. I mean, I imagine you think, oh, you've blasted down the Mulsanne, you've clicked it through the Porsche curves, all the great stuff, best ever, and then you can mess it up in that little chicane there. As you see Albamba going to the top of the times now by about half a second. A 3:24.773, fastest lap of the session.
Yeah, and more than that, fastest time of the week so far, if you consider Sunday being this week.
Yeah.
Because that is faster than we saw in testing as well. We are starting to see purple sectors. To be honest, I think Philippe Albuquerque possibly could have gone faster. We saw him do a fast sector 1, fast sector 2, and pit. We saw the same with Brendan Hartley. So there's a lot of mystery going on out there right now. But Bamba choosing to complete the lap. Must have been the pizza he had last night, Chris, because the same pizza as our restaurant. Great choice from Sebastian Bourdais. We've made the right choice when the local is in the pizza place with us, and they have gone to the top of the timing sheets.
Yeah, that's very true. You do know, don't you?
It's purple again.
I mean, you must be having pizza every night, right? Nothing's as good as Italy, but there's some good pizza places.
Of course, with pizza you have turbo, so yeah, maybe yeah.
Tommaso pointing out quite rightly, he's purple again in the first sector is Albamba, so yeah, more time in that number 38 Cadillac. But yeah, Tommaso, just again, just to kind of finish up that point about the other points on the lap, it can be very easy to throw it away in a silly place like those last two chicanes, for example.
I mean, if you don't take the right flow starting from Porsche, then you have to give up the lap, you know, because it's always a full flow from the first part of the Porsche curves to the fourth curves. You're always like steering a bit, you know. So it's important that you need the first part of Porsche to nail everything, and then also from third curves it's important to nail the first one. So it's quite an important thing.
Oh, you wouldn't be able to do that a few years ago. Absolutely, but taking full benefit of the first part of the Porsche curves, the number 3 machine. That's a DK Engineering car, which we said was in the pits for a long time. And I know, just having a quick look, yes, it has now got up to speed. John Ferrano aboard that car and sitting 14th in class, but definitely avoiding the track and more, maybe taking his time to come back to the pits with yet another issue for DK Engineering. A small family Luxembourg team. Obviously Tower Motorsport is John Ferrano's team, which is also a small family run team. So it's the marriage of the two there for Le Mans this weekend.
Tommaso, I'm curious about the coaching element. We're going to see a lot of drivers like John Ferrano receiving there as the bronze drivers in LMP2 and LMGT3, and their pro drivers are going to be talking them through quite a bit. Actually, I'm going to come back to that in a minute and just give Albamba a bit of on-air appreciation here, because he has done yet another purple set and is currently 6/10 up on his previous lap time. So this could pretty much smash the earlier lap he did and put in more than a second clear of his mark mate in Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac, and yeah, finds damn near a full second out there. 3:23.786. Now that is some hot pace, and only about a second away from pole position last year.
Less than that, 0.6 of a second.
Wow, that is some really strong pace. This early on, you know, so coming up to the end of the first session, still got a full 24 hours or so before we are talking about pole sitters for tomorrow. That's incredible stuff. But
5 lap old tyres, so he's clearly gone out with the objective of doing that, but that was his second attempt. Quite interesting, a lot of people running just one set of tyres in this session, one set of mediums, a few variants now. Peugeot sticking some soft tyres on for Stoffel Vandoorne. That's meant that, remember I said earlier that they were the slowest 2 hypercars. Stoffel now up to 11th. We've got a double yellow waved at Marshall Point 24, now removed, but that was Indianapolis. So that's the fast approach to the slow left-hander where the Marshall Post was waving a flag. BMW now on a push lap, I think, coming towards the line. This is the Kevin Magnussen car that took victory last time out at Spa 24 Hours. I think they're about to wind up for one. The other outlier is Danny Ucadella in Genesis. Soft tyres for him. He's definitely going out to see what the Genesis can do, and has a green Sector 2 to his name.
So, Tommaso, coming back to you and coaching, because, yeah, with the bronze drivers, they're getting coached through a lot of it. What is it like from your perspective? You've coached a lot of young drivers, and I'm sure some gentleman drivers in your time as well. So what is it like from your side, from the pro side of things?
You know, like the bronze drivers used to, you know, have the right movement of the steering wheels, right braking points, sometimes right places where they go on throttle, but you should always have like a bit of more of an eye on them, because they actually really don't nail it, you know, in the right way, the corners. Maybe they're going a bit too fast inside, or not right braking too much, or they go on throttle too early, so, you know, they use a lot of traction control. Maybe that's the point, you know, where you can help the young drivers, or also the bronze drivers. You know, that's the part of the coach that could help a bit the bronze, of course. I mean, I'm not a very good coach. I mean, I'm just a pro driver, you know, and not coaching a lot. Of course, I'm trying to help some of my teammates that are younger, but that's the point.
We've got yellow flags over at Mulsanne corner, so at the very end of the straight. No indication as to who or what that might be. Less than 20 minutes left in the session.
Oh, Will Stevens mazes a Cadillac 1-2-3. He comes over the line 2.1 seconds slower than Earl Bamber, but that is really good news for Cadillac. Makovicky has improved in the Alpine up to 10th. Ucadella on his first attempt up to 11th. Vandoorne's last attempt was 13th. Has pushed Aston Martin down to 14th. The 2 Ferraris, Yayafei in 15th and Pierre Guidi in 16th spot. Personal best lap just come through for Pierre Guidi. Just wondering why we've got this lingering yellow flag down at Marshall Point 20. It's Mulsanne corner.
Potentially some debris.
Well, we've also got a couple of stationary cars on my tracker.
Which isn't always necessarily an indication that they are stationary, but you're right, the 83, last year's winner, has been stationary for some time on that track, along with the 14
which
from
is TDS race.
Yeah, so could be a potential incident.
I don't know whether we've got a camera down at Mulsanne today. I'm not sure we've seen the shot that you would expect to see from down there. They, of course, are concerned in the garage and trying to find out. Of course, they've got a video feed down there of the inside the car, so they'll be able to see what has happened to the car in a better way than we can. Let's have a look now. Here we go. Here's a replay. So on board with the 83, It is Yeyefei aboard the car, coming down to Mulsanne, braking zone.
Oh, it already doesn't sound good.
And he has hit the tyre barrier down there. He tried to pitch it left, which is unconventional, but that actually the runoff area. The runoff area goes...
The gravel didn't hit anything, confirm?
I did hit on the side because I lost it on the entrance.
I don't know whether he didn't have the retardation he was expecting or just missed the braking zone there, but he tried to pitch left because the roundabout acts as the... There's a weird thing, right, Tommaso? You go round the roundabout if you run on the corner, come back onto the circuit, and that's effectively your tarmac runoff area. Unfortunately, though, he didn't quite manage to get it and just caught the end of the barrier. So some damage to last year's winner, and you have to say, a 7th, a 15th and a 16th. Can't read everything into practice, but it's not looking quite as shiny as 1 year ago, and Cadillac really are flying that American flag furiously. 15 minutes remaining of the session. It'll be easy to snatch that Ferrari out the way because it really is tucked the far left-hand corner, but it does mean that any attempts at lap times are going to be ruined by a yellow flag down there at Mulsanne.
Well, we've got Tommaso Mosca in the box with us because I think he has to be out of the way soon. As we can see, the 83 is still in the barriers. So, Tommaso, you're racing this weekend or on Friday, part of Le Mans week. Yeah, what's the setup you've got there? Who you're racing with, and yeah, how's it going so far?
Quite okay. I mean, I'm racing with a bronze driver, Francesco Piavanetti, a friend of mine, and he's a very good bronze. So we will see. Let's check.
Just see it arriving sideways at the scene of the accident.
Quite a lot of speed that wasn't rubbed off there. I wonder whether he didn't quite get the braking reaction that he expected. Perhaps the car ahead put him off. But yeah, once he came off the gravel and back onto tarmac, it didn't slow down really at all, going sideways. Some work to do, and we will start our qualifying session for...
Maybe I can gravel mode to go out.
Gravel mode?
There's a gravel mode?
Oh, what? Turn into rally car?
Tommaso's got a look on his face like that's something he already knew about, but wasn't allowed to tell us.
No, I mean, maybe to help them to go out, so, but actually I don't know, so...
Okay, I don't have it on the 296.
No, 296 nothing, so if you go in the gravel, probably you stay, so...
Fair enough, but yeah, so do continue just telling us who you're with this weekend, because that's also live on TNT Sports and HBO Max this weekend.
Anyway, so far so good. I mean, from our race, we did just free practice 1 and we had 4 red flags, so it was a bit messy. Yeah, wow. We had, you know, LMP3s, GTs, and both bronze and pro drivers is a bit messy, but you know, it's Le Mans, and you have slow zones, you have red flags, you have everything. So maybe in FP2 we'll do a bit more laps. We'll see, but so far so good.
Okay, excellent. That's really good to hear. Tommaso, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Your insights.
Thank you, mate.
It's been really, really good to have you in.
Thank you very much, guys.
Wish you all the best for this week.
Thank you.
So, 13 minutes left on the clock. The closing stages of this first session out for these guys.
2.5 hours Ferrari will have, or F Corsa will have, to turn around the car for the hypercar qualifying session. I don't think we've really touched on how that's going to work, but they are dividing the qualifying session into 2 separate sessions. So the LMP2 and GT3 cars will go out in the first session, and then the hypercars in the second. And Yeyefei has got the car out the gravel trap, and is still doing 100 miles an hour despite damage.
Yeah, so slowly contact. Shake off the gravel on the right-hand side, not on the driving line.
I don't know whether there's going to be that much damage to the right-hand side of that. Yes, right-hand side of that car. It doesn't really look like it. The bodywork is a little bit loose, but he's able to bring it. I think all 4 wheels are pointing in the right direction.
He did hit it pretty square on by the looks of it, which is the best way to hit something if you must do so. So he may have just gotten away with that and given the AF Corsa crew the minimum amount of work to have to do to prep that car before qualifying. Slight bit of context on the number 12, which might explain the 2.2 second gap between the Cadillac Hurst-Team Jota teammates. Car number 12 had a issue with the brake pedal, and that's why it spent a bit of time in the garage. It has now been rectified. But if you were going back out on track and you just had problems with the brakes, I'd take a bit easy as well.
Yeah, they've only done 23 laps versus 40 for the sister car. So big difference there. We're seeing 42 laps for the Aston Martins. So yeah, 20. They have missed out on a bit of running there, and certainly the game plan hasn't quite worked out. But the pace is still there, and of course they're quite easily able to bolt on the learnings of certainly the other Jota car, and I wonder whether there's probably a bit of information, as there was last year, being shared between Wayne Taylor Racing and Jota to make sure all three are running similarly fast.
I'm absolutely sure there are, because yes, they may well be different teams, but we're representing the same brand and trying to put Cadillac out on top.
It's very strange. I just locked the front tires, like I just brake, and then the flat spot I caught it straight away, and then I just couldn't save it from there.
So that sounds more like it could be an issue linking the hybrid systems, because that does make the braking phase and the regen going on quite significantly complicated. Ferrari does have one of the more advanced systems on the grid, with the front axle being activated as well above a certain speed. He even caught a little bit of air when he went into the barriers.
Yeah, but I think he also caught air when he went from the gravel to tarmac, which didn't help the car slow down one bit. I think, to be honest, he's done very well there to get the car into the barrier the way he did, as you said, really side on properly, and there's going to be more scratching heads about why it happened than the damage that occurred from it, I think.
Through the Porsche curves. And that's number 20 car running a special version of the Shell livery for this Le Mans 24-hour weekend.
Interested to see how his last sector is. Middle sector is ruined by the yellow flag, but first sector was an improvement on what that BMW can do. And he comes over the line, best time, and he's in the mix with the Cadillacs. Look at that.
Oh, yes.
1.7 seconds back from Aitken's time, but René Rast in the BMW up to third position as we get an improvement from Tom Gamble in the Aston Martin. That moves him up to ninth position, and Pin has just gone fastest in LMP2.
Now that is a headline,
huge
isn't it?
Headline by some margin as well. Hang on, am I reading this right? She's gone a second faster. She's gone a second faster.
Yeah, full second faster than the EDEC Sport car. Oh, hello, that's the DKR car again. Oh no, it's the 183 AF Corsa car, which is currently being driven by Ben Barnicat, the Lexus factory driver, on loan for this weekend. Not the kind of mistake you'd expect to see Barnicat making, but Dorian Pan there with a fantastic effort in the number 30 car from Duquesne. Dorian Pan, I'm sure many will know, is the F1 Academy champion, but back on sort of home soil, really, racing in LMP2. It's where she was in the World Endurance Championship before joining F1 Academy. She's now back in LMP2, now in the European Le Mans Series, because LMP2 doesn't exist in WEC anymore, except for at Le Mans. But obviously since then she's become a Mercedes Formula 1 development driver, a Peugeot development driver. She will be doing the rookie test in November in their hypercar. I think also further with the Stellantis group, she is Citroen's development driver in Formula E as well. So she's in all the right places.
I think when it comes to female stars, she absolutely is top of the crop. Genesis have their own with Jamie Chadwick as the official reserve driver here. She turned some laps on test day. And obviously we have Leela Wadu as well as a works factory driver. And am I right in saying it's just those 3 females? And obviously Jamie,
just those 2.
Yeah, because Jamie's not actually racing.
Yeah, no Jamie Chadwick in the Genesis or the E-Deck supporting LMP2 car, and so this is that Ben Barnicoat moment again.
Curious, isn't it?
It is curious.
Because it didn't really get the wheels over the curb enough to drag from that view. It looks like it does, but the closer view, the wheels don't necessarily drag you into the barrier. You get over that curb, and for sure it's going to drag you into the barrier because the barrier is coming at you. But
just stayed away from it, though. I think
just about.
Just had the nearest touch and a bit of respect from the AF Corsa crew. I think that's Francois Perrodo, wasn't it, who was giving his approval. Mathieu Vaxivier, the 3rd driver in that car. Ben Barnicoat, more known for his efforts with Lexus, but is familiar with LMP2 machinery here at Le Mans and in the Asian Le Mans series as well.
Stunning sound of the Aston Martin chasing down the Genesis double WRC. That's what I was trying to say, because it's got 2 Hyundai WRC engines in it, with a shared crank.
They're clearly ambitious with how many cars they're going to build, because they call it the GMR 001. Why would you put so many zeros in unless you're expecting to make 100 of them?
Do the same thing with my invoices. It never gets beyond about 10.
So 5 minutes left in this session, and it is still a Cadillac 1-2, but BMW showing its nose. But I just don't think, Ben, that we've seen the best of Alpine, seen the best of Toyota or Ferrari as well.
Ferrari especially.
Well, 2 of the 3 most recent winners not even inside the top 10 in this session.
Yeah, we've got Ferrari 15th and 17th right now.
It won't be that way in qualifying, I'm sure of it. But that being said, the car that won last year qualified 13th. Didn't make it into Hyperpole 2.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But the question is, who are we going to lose? So in qualifying later on, with just 4 minutes remaining of this session now, we only take the top 15 of each category through into tomorrow's Hyperpole sessions. And that basically means with 18 competitors, we lose 3 hypercars. I think it's 4 LMP2 cars and 9 GT3s. So only 3 hypercars will not progress through. Which 3 are they going to be? Because if you look at the if you look at this practice session, it's 2 Ferraris and a Peugeot.
You would have to go with the easy money on when the chips are down, 2 of those cars being Genesis.
I would have thought so. It would make sense, but for me, I feel as though Peugeot are weaker in this session.
Could well be. They have struggled around it because we talked about the rear wing earlier, didn't we? That, you know, the car was super striking and amazing to look at, a real revolutionary design, and it was designed to go well at Le Mans, but it didn't work well anywhere else. And they've kind of fixed that, so the car works everywhere else.
So quarter 1. Really use the steering to rotate the car mid-corner as the car cambers up, as the corner cambers up.
So
and remind the karting exit focus, early left.
That's an Alpine rear left suspension damage because he's hit the wall. I reckon he's done exactly what we saw Ben Barnicoat do. Here we go, here's the replay, and exactly the same thing, but much more of a hit. And that, I think, is the 36 machine. And that may well bring out the red flag for the end of the session. Fred Makovicky aboard that car in the all-French lineup. And look, the tiniest of hits, but it's properly bent that left rear suspension. And
looks like they might red flag it.
I want to limp around the rest of the lap with a car like that.
Look how much he's having to steer right just to keep the car going in a straight line. That would be a pretty monumental effort to get that back to pit lane under his own steam. Fred Makovicky in his 16th start at Le Mans now, 45 years old. He's certainly got an awful lot of experience.
Yeah, could be.
Okay, so we're on board now. So we've already got some oversteer coming out of the chicane at the top of the hill. Brings it down the
no sign of a yellow.
this is where it's all going to start going wrong. It did almost exactly what Ben Barnicle did. The car just understeers a little bit wide.
I mean, he's not really even steering as well. It's just that classic thing of you're trying to get the drive out the corner, and it almost pushes on. It almost like exit of the corner understeer. And he had a few snaps all the way through. There's Jules Gounon. No, it's not. Yes, it is.
Yes,
yes, it is. He just needs a shave.
I thought about this earlier.
Like Jules Gounon's mechanic friend.
Jules Gounon was not particularly happy in the round table earlier. It's not really his thing.
Oh, but he's great one-to-one.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The technically Andorran driver, but born in France.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see that it's gone back to the French license for this weekend, because
has he
quite often? Well, yeah, because he's a full French lineup, you see.
Yeah.
Whereas quite often you see him with the Andorran license, because there was a little bit of a falling out with the French FFSA, and so living in Andorra means that he was an Andorran desperately wanting to be represented in world motorsport. Open arms. They had I think Andorran Motorsport Federation have got like a couple of rallycross drivers, and that's about it.
Wow.
So to have Jules Gounon as part of their stable, absolutely wonderful. Look at that, the Cadillac already up on its jacks. That will be the number
38.
38. So the leading car. So all top three are already in the garage getting ready for Hyperpole. By the way, Charles Milesi moved up to 5th position in the Alpine, the other Alpine, the one that's actually not bent. So Alpine definitely not going to be troubling the back. And Pierre Guidi's just on a lap that's got him up to 15th.
Wow.
Checker flags out.
Stunning.
Well, when Pipo Derani's just gone up to 9th in the Genesis, I mean, I know that it's just qualifying, but it's not a great headline if you don't go into day 2 of qualifying a bit later on.
Well, we'll find out later, won't we? Certainly with the qualifying programme due to start 6:30 local time, 5:30.
Yeah, the 16, according to our timings, hasn't appeared on the monitor. That's the latest news that we've got up here in the box, so we'll try and work out exactly what that is going to entail a little bit later on. But right now, the checkered flag is out, and take a look at Dorian Pan. So Dorian has gone out and has gone fastest in this session overall. That is going to be a mighty important session for her, which is going to be good stuff. Can't find any live on boards when I find the normal live. There's a couple of bits that have been flying around across the two, but there are some on FIA WEC, FIA WEC Plus, whatever it is. But there's also some on YouTube, so there is going to be parts where you can come and find the action out there on the circuit. So don't worry, you will be able to have some of the broadcasts. We have a car off, though, that has brought out the yellow flag down on the back of the Mulsanne Straight. So that is why at the moment we have yellows, and it might be a red soon as well, taking a look at it on our computers.
But I think we may have got somebody else in the gravel trap down at Mulsanne, and it's I'm just waiting on the tracker to sort itself out, but I think it may have been the 25, which will have been Algarve Pro Racing.
So that's one of 2 cars they have here this weekend in the LMP2 category. The Stuart and Samantha Cox owned Portuguese team. Enzo Trulli bought that car, the son of Jarno Trulli, Monaco Grand Prix winner with Jake Hughes and Michael Jensen.
Yeah, I love the fact we've got Trulli, we've got Alesi, we've got Patrese, all sons of. Makes me feel old.
Even more in the management area as well, when you consider the Kessel crew, Ronnie Kessel, Boris's son.
And Aurélien Panis and Olivier. by the way, we haven't seen that car, but the Panis car is liveried as Olivier's helmet was 30 years ago this week, not this weekend, but 30 years ago when he won Monaco. So the whole car is liveried in his helmet colours. In LMP2, Dorian Pin stays at the top of that timing sheet by 0.7 of a second over Kevin Estre, who just set a lap time.
That is quite impressive. Obviously, Kevin Estre not exactly used to driving an LMP2 car, but that is
not a slouch.
Still a statement, isn't it, as a Porsche factory driver. Do you know who we forgot then? Barrichello.
Oh, yes.
Barrichello Jr.
Eduardo, yeah.
As well. His brother Fernando in FIA Formula 3 this season as well. So having a little snoop in on driving.
Interesting, talking about track limits and saying I felt it was right, but we got pinged. So it's obviously a little bit of not confusion necessarily, but what it feels like inside the car versus what it's reality. There's a little bit of not matching, and of course that's really important because with half an hour in qualifying, you get your track limit issue. That means fully lap time disallowed. It's not like in practice session where you're allowed to do 5 and then you have to come and park up for a little bit. You don't get your lap time, and you don't have many chances to get a lap time. So you do not want to lose your best.
Because the qualifying session is only 30 minutes, so you don't get an awful lot of time.
Yeah. Cadillac then the headline with the Wayne Taylor car, fastest for most of the session, but in the end beaten by Earl Bamber in the 38. BMW up there with a time from René Rast, 1.7 seconds back, and Will Stevens with a problem with the number 4 in 4th position. The last of the hypercars, Peugeot and Ferrari, over 3 seconds back, but there is also a BMW there. Remember that the field was separated by 1.7 seconds in testing, so that is definitely not necessarily representative of what we're going to see a little bit later on, I would suggest. Dorian Pin, though, has to be the big celebrity star of this session. Faster than Kevin Estre, faster than Paul Lafarge, who stayed at the top of that time for much of the session.
Yep, Dorian Pin, top of the board, 335.248. So there are a lot of improvements coming as the cars make their way back into the pit lane across the board. Apologies that we didn't have our own commentary. We'll have ours back ready for the session later on. Hope you'll enjoy as well the timing tower rotation function that we've been setting up. We only get this first practice session to set everything up for the Le Mans 24 Hours. So that's why we've been adjusting things, getting things right, and making it look great for you back at home, and make sure it looks ASAP cool, which is why it's sometimes been a little bit difficult to get things all set up and ready to go. But it is done, and we've even got class separators for the next session, as well as everything else we need. So we're happy. Hope you are too, as you join us later on for all of the action coming up from qualifying in just over an hour. Join us then here on JB Motorsports. Thanks for your company. We'll see you later on as we start the Le Mans 24 Hours. Bye-bye.